Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Good evening, Maverick family. I'm Rick Walker. This is the Maverick News Channel. We are the Freedom Reporters, and we're multiplying. We have another Freedom Reporter and an excellent researcher joining us tonight. But I'll let these gentlemen introduce themselves.
Well, you guys already know me as your co-host of the Maverick News Channel, Brendan Kennedy. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy Sunday.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ian.
It's your turn.
Well, Rick has kindly had me on once before, but I'll just reintroduce myself. I'm a retired computer scientist, so I dig into the science of things. I've been doing truth searching for a dozen years, and I've had blogs for most of that time. And that seems to be my main thing in life, is just get to the truth in things.
And that's why we're trying to make Ian a regular contributor, a Maverick News contributor. And tonight he has data, information on a couple of important stories that are unfolding. First, this chain of very unlikely food processing plant fires across the United States. Ian has been digging into that, looking at the statistics, the data, other stories, and he's just done his best to kind of get to the bottom of it all. And he's going to share the information that he has uncovered with us tonight. And also, we talked a little bit the other night not quite a week ago, about the snake venom in the vaccines and the snake venom being used as the foundation for COVID, that theory, which has been presented in a documentary called Watch the Water. So Ian has also been doing some research into that. We just touched the surface on it the other night, but tonight Ian, I think, can shed a little bit more light on that and maybe guide us as we search for information that will get us closer to the truth on that. Also, there is some breaking news to report tonight. It looks like the Rolling Thunder biker rally, not a protest, a rally that is supposed to go to Ottawa, I think next weekend, has been banned by the municipality in Ottawa and or Ottawa police. So I don't have all the details on this yet. We're aware of it. We have reached out to one of the people involved. I'm not going to call the person an organizer, but they are involved and they are aware of the details surrounding this event. And I'm not calling it a protest because apparently that was never the intention. But it was to pay tribute to veterans by having a huge procession of bikers drive by the War Memorial in Ottawa. And now, even after having worked with police to make sure that everything went smoothly without disrupting things and making sure that everything was peaceful and respectful, now they've been banned, which just blows my freedom-loving mind. So we'll hopefully get this person on tonight. What's his name, Brendan? You've been conversing.
Yeah, his name's Neil. And yeah, so he's one of the head organizers. I have been in contact with him. We will see if he comes on later, though. So it's a wait and see. Fingers crossed. But yeah, we would love to offer the organizer.
He's not the organizer.
Well, he's a spokesperson.
No, he's not an organizer. He's just involved.
He's a spokesperson. And so hopefully we can give some opportunity to speak. And it'll be a matter of time before we'll find out. Stay tuned because I'm working on it.
It is important that we point out that he's not the organizer because he has indicated that he's not the organizer, that he's just a calming voice I know that he has indicated that to police. He has been working with police and so on, but you know what they do with organizers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, he's not the organizer. So I just want to make that perfectly clear that this gentleman that's coming on tonight is not the organizer. He's just involved and has information that I know is accurate. So I appreciate you reaching out to him. And he needs to come on because inquiring minds want to know. And we're not going to get all the facts from Ottawa police, at least not tonight. So
No, they're not going to tell us anything.
well, they'll release information, and we'll get whatever they put out to the media through their public relations people. But we want to find out what's going on with the group that was planning to go, because my understanding is whether the cops and the municipality like it or not, the word that I'm getting is a lot of bikers are going anyway. So
Yeah.
we're just going to have to deal with it and suck it up.
It's
We'll see
looking
what
like it's looking like at least over 1,000 bikes.
Yeah.
At this point.
So anyway, what do you think of that, Ian? Just off the top of your head.
It sounds, having known a couple of bikers, and these are not the guys with the Hells Angels patches and that kind of look, but just ordinary guys that have ordinary jobs and just happen to like to ride. And they go on rides all the time. Usually there are local bike clubs, and you can get 20, 30 and more going out for a ride. And my hometown in Simcoe, Ontario is down near Lake Erie, and a town there, Port Dover, is famous for once a year on Friday the 13th, they have a huge biker congregation, thousands, into tens of thousands of bikers descend on this little village, and they camp out in fields and everything, and it's generally peaceful. And I guess it's a highlight of the year for bikers. So this to me is just another activity like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when they do go to Port Dover, they inject a lot of tourist dollars into the community as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It's also worth mentioning that this is heavily veteran supported, so there is a high emphasis on this with the veterans of Canada. So yeah, I feel that's a piece of information worth sharing too.
Yeah, and in this case, you would expect very good discipline because these are veterans, and in the military, discipline is something you learn.
Yeah. Well, really hoping that we are able to connect with this person from the group tonight, because we really would like to get some details and just some perspective on this. I think it's very important. And I know a lot of people were planning to go up there to pay their respects and restore some dignity to that war memorial, which honestly was desecrated by the government when they put that fencing around it. And then the veterans during the Freedom Convoy up there came along and took it down and reclaimed it for the people. So am I surprised the cops have done this and the municipality? No, not really. I half expected that they would. Is it right for them to do it? No way. I don't see how they can possibly justify doing this.
Yeah, and in the discourse we had prior to the start of the program, it was a short, and I voiced my initial thought that came to mind is, under what authority can the police ban a group like this? The chief there was notorious for his heavy-handed approach, and probably, depending on the outcome of court battles, possibly illegal approaches to the handling of the truckers' convoy. What authority is he operating under? Maybe he's still operating under authority which he thought he had, months ago.
Well, they do have Bill 100 in place now provincially that gives them incredible power to make arrests. Even if they think that you might commit a crime, they can confiscate your vehicle, take your license. So if these bikers do go up there at all, and they're anywhere in the city, the cops now have the authority under Bill 100. They don't have to be in the downtown. They can pull them over on the highway, on the byway, on a crescent, anywhere they want. If you're riding a bike, or it doesn't even, you can be in a car. It doesn't matter. Maybe you just have a Canadian flag or a Canadian flag bumper sticker on your car, and they might think that you're some sort of a freedom lover, pull you over, arrest you, throw you in jail, confiscate your vehicle, take away your driver's license. And there's not a thing you can do about it. There's no recourse. There's no due process under Bill 100. So that's what they can do. That's what I'm telling everybody. Canada is gone. If you think you're still living in a free country, think again. We are not. And this just further illustrates my point. This is maddening. This is disgusting. And after all the crap that the cops pulled up there in Ottawa when they went in there and busted skulls, they need to be working to restore public trust and confidence in the police services. And this is not how you do it. If you think, this is my message to the cops and to the councillors and to the mayor of Ottawa and to the prime minister for that matter, because make no mistake, there are orders coming down from the PM's office on this too. Okay, so he's been watching this. This is my message to all of them. Wait, you need to take a much lighter touch. And if you think that if you're just going to respond to a bunch of orchestrated, choreographed phone calls from a bunch of political operatives who are basically planting predetermined and malicious complaints in advance, or phone calls about concern about the bikers coming to town and causing all kinds of mayhem, well, you know you're just being used as a political tool, or you're just acting on political grounds. This is not legal in any manner. As far as I'm concerned, this is completely unconstitutional. You can't keep treating people like this. If you keep treating people like this, and this is what they're doing, and I think this is what they want. They want people to react. They want people that they've identified as groups that they don't like to just put so much pressure on them and strip them of their rights and just push them and poke them and prod them until they get a negative reaction so they can go in and put the hammer down on them. That's it. That's what they're doing. And this has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. But you know what? I'll let you guys speak to it before we move on if you want to. And then hopefully we get this gentleman on who's involved with the group, because we really need his perspective and we need the facts from him.
I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, Rick Walker. And at the end of the day, we need to ensure that protesting and maybe even not protesting, doesn't matter. But these wide sweeping government policies have to go away. They're not good for any side of the political channel that you subscribe to. And I mean, that would be my piece on it.
Anything more you want to say on it, Ian?
Well,
before we're all thrown in jail together for being on the podcast tonight and speaking our mind.
I was going to do a joke, but I'm not sure it's such a good idea. I am known for making statements which appear perfectly plausible, and at the end I pause for a few minutes and then say I'm joking, because by then I've got everybody in a tizzy or something like that. I'll try it. I was going to say my sources close to the PMO told me that Bill C-43, which is being drafted, allows the cops to shoot on sight. So if they don't like the people that are coming into town, they don't even have to arrest them now. They just shoot them. Joking.
Maybe. These days, man, I don't know how far they're willing to go, but obviously pretty far.
Nothing shocks me anymore. I'm just like, well,
yeah.
Another thing in the bucket.
I told you, I do business with people in China and I speak to them. And what I gather, what I'm getting back when I'm talking to them over there is that things are worse here than they are over there. There are more restrictions here for people living their day-to-day lives than there are over in China right now. Now, I can't speak to the whole Shanghai lockdown thing that we're seeing. Okay, I don't really talk to people in that city, but overall, and I haven't spoken to them in probably a week or so. But I'm just telling you, man, Canada is in dire straits.
Yeah, I have friends who fled communist Hungary before the U.S.A. dissolved, and they were musicians, and literally they left on a tour and didn't come back, so they left with nothing, and have built a bit of a life here. They're close to my age, a little younger, but they say conditions in Canada now are worse than they ever were back in the communist regime in Hungary. It's not broad across the board, but you single out individual actions like all of this stuff that happened around the truckers' convoy, freezing people's bank accounts and stripping them of their insurance, doing everything they can to make living literally impossible for that person. It's worse than the communists in Hungary apparently ever did.
Yeah. And then you got to look at how independent journalism is being treated in Canada as well. Keenan Bexty and a few other individuals have reported being stalked by mysterious people while they were in Ottawa. A bunch of documents have come out recently of police following freedom movement people and screenshotting their social media stuff and so on and so forth.
Well, the government's going to find out. You can't keep treating people like this because eventually you're going to get pushback. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're getting some pushback now. They don't seem to understand that if you just give people their freedom, they're not going to have a problem. Give people cuts people some slack. Let people live their lives. Let them express themselves. And you're not going to get much in the way of opposition from your citizens. But this government is just bent on power and cracking down on people that disagree with them. They don't realize that the more that they do this kind of stuff, the more it builds up opposition against them. It really does.
It does, yeah. I think the actions of the federal government and the Ottawa police with respect to the truckers and the truckers convoy, I expect it woke up a lot of Canadians who at first came to life around the idea of a freedom convoy where everybody was having fun and celebrating. It was a really family event. And then the totalitarian state descended upon it. And I think a lot of people now have a different view of their government.
As they should. As they should.
And we've talked to some of those individuals on the call-in show, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Let's take a brief 30-second break. Then when we come back, we're going to dig into this whole bizarre story surrounding food factory fires and explosions that seems to be contributing to supply chain and food shortages. And Ian has some information to share with us on that. We'll be right back after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And you can support our work here on the Maverick News channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. You can click the hot link in the YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble descriptions and go straight to the donation page, or you can just type in the URL, freedomreporters.com, and support what we are doing. We are fighting an information war, and we are fighting a war for freedom. And we have two other great freedom fighting, freedom loving, freedom top guns with us, Maverick top guns here, Ian Nunn and Brendan Kennedy tonight. Support these guys too. I'm going to throw it over to Brendan for a moment, who can also fill you in on other ways you can support what we are doing here on the Maverick News Channel.
Please make sure that you hit the like button, as it does help defeat the algorithm. And if you haven't already, we would love for you to subscribe. Come be a part of the Maverick family. We'd love to have you. There's lots of things that we have undergoing right now, so you're going to want to follow. It's going to be exciting. We've got websites. We've got other works of art that we're kind of putting together as well. So to help you stay informed and to stay tuned, just follow us, and we'll be able to help share information and maybe bring a little bit more freedom in the future for Canada and even the United States. So yeah, please do. And you could also hit the bell to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows.
And I also wanted to mention that Gonzalo Lira, independent journalist who has been covering the war in Ukraine, is alive. He has surfaced. He was gone for about a week. The information we have on him is that he was picked up by Ukrainian authorities, was held in detention. He did post online that if he went missing for any longer than, I think 24 hours or something like that, Brendan?
It was 12 hours.
12 hours,
yeah.
That people should assume that he had been picked up by the Ukrainian authorities. Of course, he has been offering a different perspective as an independent journalist than the perspective being offered by the mainstream media. It hasn't made him very popular with the Ukrainian government of Volodymyr Zelensky. And indeed, he was picked up, but they didn't kill him. There was some speculation that he may have been killed by the Ukrainian authorities, but he has been released. He is not allowed to say very much because he is still in Ukrainian territory and is still bound by Ukrainian law, and they have basically put a muzzle on him. He is speaking out to some degree to still the issues surrounding the conflict, but he's not allowed to speak about his arrest and detention. So I'm hoping that we might be able to get him on the program. We are reaching out to him, but it has been difficult because they confiscated his iPhone and they changed all of the passwords apparently on all of his social media accounts so that he can't have access. So now he has, I think he has set up a new email address, and I think we're going to be able to get that so that we can get in contact with him and invite him onto the program so that we can at least have, well, I think an intelligent conversation about what's going on in Ukraine, and there's a lot to cover there. But first, as promised, let's go back to this story about the food processing plant fires, which is bizarre. I don't know if you've heard about this, folks, but Ian is going to fill us in on kind of what has transpired over the past, well, really the past year, right, Ian? What's going on with all of this? It is strange.
It really came to my attention first about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I follow a couple of dozen different sources of quality alternative news and information, and some very, very smart people that commented and so on. And the first article came out about that in that time frame, and it mentioned, I think at that time, 4 recent fires in major food processing plants in the U.S. in a short period of time. Now, there have been many more. If you go back a little further, for instance, about a month, 2 months ago, there was a Walmart distribution center that went up in flames. Now, those places are mammoth, kind of like or like the Amazon fulfillment centers. They carry everything for all of the stores in a region. So an immense amount of inventory went up in flames. And they're into the food aspect of it too. So a lot of food went up. But other major plants have gone up in front of flames in the last 2 or 3 days. Well, 4 days. I haven't been tracking it closely in the sense that I would do if I were writing an article about it. So I haven't accumulated the information, but I started collecting links because I had, even before Rick approached me on this, I had decided this is probably worth an article pulling it all together. So before I talk a bit about speculation, maybe Rick wants to show you a couple of
Sure.
references.
Yeah. So here's this is a report from a local news station, KTVB. And this is a story. So we're just going to let this story roll from, I believe this is from today. It's an update on the this explosion and fire that destroyed an Oregon food processing plant. So let's just let this roll. And I haven't watched this full report, so it'll be as new to me as it is to you folks.
On the food plant fire in Hermiston, Oregon that happened yesterday, the Umatilla County Fire District says the evacuation orders for people living nearby that plant were lifted. They say the hot spots are out now and the smoke has dispersed. Crews think a boiler powered by natural gas exploded, causing this fire. Shearer's Food Company representatives from Ohio are now in the state of Oregon trying to figure out what to do next. They met with employees like Corey Harris. He's worked at the food plant for 16 years and says his coworkers are like family.
Shearer's changed a lot in people's lives, gave them jobs, gave them opportunities to grow, like really getting teary-eyed because of what happened. It was just so sad seeing that happen. Now, where do we turn? Where do we go?
Yeah, they got to figure out what's next in terms of work. The city of Hermiston says 1 in 30 jobs in that zip code are connected to Shearer's Food. So this is a major loss for that area. City leaders are working with the company to see what can be done to keep operations going.
So that's the local perspective on that one explosion and fire. And that in itself might not seem that unusual. But this is what the reason we're talking about this tonight. And I know that a lot of people are aware of this because of what they've seen on Tucker Carlson. He highlighted this. There has been, to my knowledge, at least a dozen of these types of incidents involving massive fires and the complete destruction of food processing plants across the U.S. And on top of that, as Ian mentioned, there has been a chain or a string of fires and explosions at product distribution centers and warehouses for food and retail distribution. And I've also noticed that as I was doing a little bit of online research, it seems like we're seeing reports of food processing plant fires and explosions in other countries, even in places like Bangladesh, and chemical plant fires. So I don't have enough information to really connect dots with any conclusion being drawn tonight, but it does seem like there's an unusual number. No question that we are way over what would be considered a normal number of fires like this. And I know that Ian, with the information and the research that you've been doing, you might be able to speak to the frequency of these, the spike in number, and why that is so unusual.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'd like to present a larger context. The Ukraine war resulted in all of these actions taken to prevent Russia from conducting commerce. Russia, in retaliation, said, for instance, they will only export fertilizer to a group of countries that they have sympathetic relationships with. They in turn had produced 25% of the world's fertilizer for export. Other countries that are involved in fertilizer production now are also limiting their exports too, mainly out of concern that their own people will have enough use. So the end result is that there is not enough fertilizer in the market to meet the demands for normal crop production. And if the figure I've heard is that if you're growing corn or wheat or other grain like that, if you don't fertilize, you suffer a 30% loss in production per acre. We know that in the U.S. Southwest, the crop conditions are not ideal. One figure I heard a week ago was that only 5% of acreage had been planted at that point, and that I don't know what area in the U.S. that was, certainly part of it, as opposed to at this time of the year, same time of the year, it would be 30%. So the farmers are not only not getting crops into the ground, but they don't have the fertilizer that they would want for full realization of acreage production. And further, the drought, which is plaguing the Southwest, threatens to limit harvest also. So we're looking at a potentially significant reduction in U.S. grain harvest, and the U.S. is one of the major exporters of that kind of food. Ukraine and Russia have been traditional exporters of wheat and corn, and we know that the production in those countries, certainly in the Ukraine, I think they're planting 25 to 50% less acreage this year than they have in other years. So we're going to see a significant loss of export from the Ukraine and also from Russia. And Russia, in turn, will probably direct any exports to favored countries. So there will be lots of countries that are left out cold. We're not going to see the impact of this until the fall, when the fall harvests are in and we see the full extent of the loss. But it's fair to say we can expect significant famine this year across the world. Now, this is going to be controversial, but there are agencies that have an alleged agenda of reducing world population significantly. And this is possibly one strategy to do that. And if you're faced with natural limitations on food production, augmented by limitations created by the war, and then further limited by the loss of significant infrastructure for processing food, it's going to be a very bleak future over the next 2 years, food-wise.
So, Ian, what we're looking at here is a very unusual situation, because in any given year, major factory fires like that at food processing plants, you might have what, 1, 2, maybe 3, but we've had at least a dozen. I'm hearing as many as maybe 19 just in the U.S. within the past year,
Yeah.
and an even heavier concentration just over the past few months. So, what are the chances, in your estimation, of all of that being a coincidence?
Well, one of the sources that I follow faithfully, because the guy is really good, is Dr. Chris Martinson. He's has a PhD in, I believe, pathology with expertise in toxicology. So he's been commenting on COVID issues throughout the whole pandemic. And he has a talent for taking the real science, the scientific papers that get published, and breaking them down into terms that the common people can understand. And he picked up on this a week ago, which surprised me because I'd never seen him comment on it before. And his comment was that, you know, when a single event happens, it's chance. When two events happen essentially concurrently, it's coincidence. But when three happen, you've got to start looking for intention. And we're talking about a lot more than three in a very focused segment of our economy. So it raises suspicion.
Yes.
Just to go sideways now, there was a news article that I saw, I didn't read it, and I haven't found it since, which reported that the Chinese were saying that the nature of warfare has changed. And this is their understanding of it. So warfare, we consider, you know, artillery, planes, bombs, guns, bullets, well, all that kind of stuff, a hot war. They're saying that the nature of war is going to be much broader. Psychological warfare, and particularly cyber warfare. And so I would like to explore a little bit about the idea of cyber warfare. There was an incident that happened a few years ago, which you may recall. It was in the news. And the Iranians are moving to produce their own nuclear weapons. And the simplest form is the atomic bomb with pure enriched uranium. And to enrich uranium, you need to use devices which are called centrifuges. And centrifuges are devices which spin at very high velocity. You put a material in, and the spinning causes a separation in the components of the material. So if you're refining uranium, there's two isotopes, U-238 and U-235. U-238 is a little heavier, but U-235, which is what you make bombs out of, is just a fraction of the total composition. So you want to separate out all the U-238. That's not really useful to you, and just get the U-235. And you do that with a centrifuge. And apparently you do it in stages. So you run it through a centrifuge, get a certain level of purification, run it through again, and step it up until you get the concentration of U-235 that you want, which is concentrated enough to build a bomb. Well, the Iranians have been working this strategy for a number of years, getting closer and closer to the level of purity they need to build a bomb. But I'm going to say 3-4 years ago, there was an incident when their centrifuges blew up. And what it was that a Trojan horse, a type of computer virus, was inserted into the control systems of the centrifuges, and I gather caused them to spin so fast that they essentially flew apart. And the source of this stealth attack has been attributed to a combination of U.S. and Israeli cyber warfare units. So cyber attacks, which are in the news now, and incidentally, the FBI issued this week what they call a priority industry notification of cyber attacks on American industry. And these are what they call ransomware attacks. So there are three principal categories of attack that cyber operatives, I'll use that term because if they're bad guys, they're called cyber terrorists. And if they're good guys, well, they're guys in your military or intelligence community that are doing all this stuff, because they all do. So the first is ransomware, and these are generally skilled individual operators outside of it, not state operators. They're in it just to make some money. They go in, they penetrate the security systems of a business, and they go in and they make.
Well, I worked for a company and this happened to.
Okay.
And what happened was all of the files were
Encrypted.
like not simultaneously, but it was like a big slow roll. Files across the system were starting to get locked, and it would, every time you tried to enter into the file, it would say, if you want your files back, you're going to have to pay $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, so that's ransomware, and it's fairly common. And but again, the level of expertise to do that, probably a kid working from his parents' basement can do it in a simple form.
But this is something more complex, right, Ian?
Yeah.
Out here.
Yeah. So the next type of cyber attack is going into a system, penetrating a system, and stealing information out. So you're not holding somebody hostage or anything like that. Ideally, you go in, you get the information, and they don't even know you've been there. In the simplest forms, the basement actors go in and they're looking for a list of credit cards or something like that, if they can penetrate into that level of security. Again, state actors do that too, because state actors are looking for intelligence information and very highly classified documents. But the third category of cyber espionage, cyber attack is the Stuxnet. That was the Iranian attack, where you actually go in and your intent is malicious destruction of something. Shut down the grid, shut down a city's water supply or something like that. And so my suspicion is that, well, in this case of the one in Oregon where the boiler blew up, I'd want to know if the controls for that boiler were in any way connected to the internet. If they were, a cyber terrorist could go in, seize control of that boiler, and disable the safety units on it, and then the boiler turns on and never shuts off. It just overheats, and then boom. So
and that is a possibility, especially like a lot of people are able to control their climate controls from home, and it's so yeah, I can see what you're getting at with that.
So if we want to believe the scenario or explore the scenario that these are deliberate attacks, there are two ways of doing it. You have an inside operative who goes in and either interferes with the controls of the boiler or plants an explosive device. But when you get so many events happening in such a short period of time, and these plants have security, you don't just walk in off the street and wander around the plant just to see what's going on. So you need to plant someone in there very carefully and probably well in advance. And that is, when it happens over half a dozen or a dozen plants in a short period of time, to have that many embedded operatives, to me seems somewhat improbable. So I would be looking for a cyber attack which was able to get into the physical plant systems in these factories and create the damage. And again, that's just a speculative scenario, but find me a better one.
Yes.
And there have been strange circumstances surrounding many of these fires. Like the one plant, a plane crashed into it.
Yeah, I gotta say that was weird. I mean, I would think that you're more likely to get hit by lightning than a plane hitting a food processing factory.
Yeah, and the problem with the news reporting is that it is single event reporting, whereas a real fire, even if your neighbor's house burns down, it's not just a momentary incident. The fire department goes in when the fire is out. The fire inspectors come in and they try and figure out where the fire started and what was likely the probable cause. They do that with every fire. So we're missing a lot of reportable information on all of these incidents. Okay, a boiler blew up. Well, why did it blow up? Hopefully, I would expect arson investigators would be on the scene in all of them. And what are their findings? The case where the plane flew into the plant, was it piloted or was it the drone? If it's piloted, was a pilot identified? Then you go back and you look at the background of the pilot and so on, and try and figure out why he hit that particular plant. So there's so much information you really want about each incident, and we don't have it.
Well, let's watch this report from KPIX in the San Francisco Bay Area, CBS affiliate. And this was from April 14th, where a massive fire engulfed a food processing plant there and forced people to evacuate from surrounding neighborhoods.
To our south, this is in Salinas, a huge fire at a food processing plant. This is for Taylor Farms. And right now there are concerns about a huge plume of ammonia coming from this area. And they have an evacuation in the immediate area as well as a shelter in place all the way out to Highway 68. Now emergency authorities are warning us that they could end up closing down parts of 101 in Salinas. Again, this is in Monterey County. This food processing plant went up late last night and it's just grown. It looks like it is a total loss right now. We've seen several roofs collapsing. This was in a cold storage processing plant where apparently a welding project sparked a fire in a wall, and that eventually spread to the attic of this huge facility. People or produce were inside the plant, which was actually closed for the season. It was set to reopen on Monday. So we are going to keep an eye on all
this one. So again, kind of a little bit weird. It looks like it was some sort of an accident at the time, but again, there are no such thing as coincidences when you have this many devastating fires. I just don't see how you get this kind of number.
And if you go to any location, well, in any country, and you say a city, and you look at the number of factories there and the number of industries which those factories span, you're talking about hundreds. And here we're talking about fires in just one type of factory, one sector of the economy. There are chemical plants all over. Every town, every city has got chemical plants. They're not going up. And there are a lot more of them than there are food processing plants. Plants that make tires. That very inflammable stuff there, and they don't go up. Lumber yards, they don't go up. Well, they do occasionally, but not very often. Sawmills. I mean, there's a whole range of factories, industries that are potentially capable of producing incidents like this, and they're just not doing it.
So, Ian, in the research you've done, are you getting an indication of what kind of impact this is having on supply chains right now?
No, it's much too early. I think to do that. The commentary that I've seen is saying it'll show up in the fall if it shows up.
Well, I would think it has to show up, and I think we should probably dig into some data or look at what's going on in Canada as well.
Yeah, and here's another thing: those are huge factories. I think it was the one in Oregon. It was not only a warehouse or something like that, but it was the headquarters attached. So they lost their headquarters building as well as the warehouse. You don't rebuild a factory in 6 months. You're probably looking at a year to 2 years to replace all of that infrastructure that's been lost. And if it's food processing, that's food processing capability that is off the table now for 2 years.
And it's people say, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist," but then the numbers are just too high to be coincidence. Yeah. We have all this bizarre stuff going on in the world right now. We've got the World Economic Forum. We have these globalist forces clearly at work trying to dismantle many, if not all, aspects of Western society so they can build back better under a one world government. We have our own government acting in authoritarian ways and using the pandemic as an excuse to implement these authoritarian measures. It's just, it's a very strange time. And we're seeing the war in Ukraine. We're seeing supply chain shortages, massive inflation. I go to the grocery store. I can't get crinkle cut French fries. There's a worldwide potato shortage. Yes. There's, my God, it keeps going on and on and on. So I can't see this being just, oh, well, it just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. No, I don't think so. There's no way this is just a coincidence. There has to be something more to this, because statistically the stats suggest that that's the case. And
I also wouldn't discount possibilities of foreign intelligence actors. We don't know. I wouldn't discount it as a possibility, though. But in Canada, not only do we have there is some sort of potato virus that's getting rid of potatoes and that sort of stuff, but there is also avian bird flu that's affecting chicken farms now. And what effect is that going to have? It's my understanding that some people are not, or some chicken farmers are not able to even extract chickens out of their location because of this bird flu virus.
Yeah, I've seen massive numbers of chickens just being destroyed and disposed of.
And this, you see, this asymmetrical warfare, the new kind of warfare, we know that it's recently come to light. U.S. bioweapons research, it started coming to light around COVID because the SARS-CoV-2 virus really program was initiated in the U.S. and moved to Wuhan when Congress got heard about the gain of function research which was going on, and they didn't want that. But so everybody's doing bioweapons research. I don't care what you think the world is like, and we have these treaties and stuff like that where nobody's supposed to be doing it, and everybody's agreed by signing the treaties that they won't do it. They're all doing it. So
actually, one quick dub actually makes a point that might have some real relevance here. He's saying there's no avian flu. It's a human food supply. It's a human food supply destabilization. In other words, it's people manipulating things. How else would they convince us to eat the bugs? And yeah, I mean, that might sound laughable, but I know that just up the road here in London, Ontario, they have a cricket farm where they're farming crickets so that they can grind them up into protein so that we all eat the crickets because they want us to eat the insects. It's true, and they got a massive government grant to do it. So
I'd rather they put the protein through a chicken first.
Yeah, no kidding.
But so think of how easy this is. You in your lab, you have developed a better strain of the bird flu. And so you have an operative, and he has a little vial disguised as a chapstick. And he goes to another country, and he visits a poultry farm there. And when nobody's looking, he releases it, and that flock gets infected, and then it spreads from there. I mean, it's so easy to do this kind of thing. Think of China. I don't know. My time frame is not very good these days, but 2 or 3 years ago, they had the swine flu. They had to kill half the pigs they raised because of this swine flu. Well, did it grow naturally, or did some foreign actor just happen to start it in some farm somewhere and let it go? I mean, it's that easy.
Oh, Rick, you're on mute.
Rick?
Again, we do have to clarify, thank you, gentlemen, that we are injecting some speculation here. Yeah. A lot of what we're talking about, we can't prove some of what we're saying here tonight, but Ian does have a lot of data, and he's a great researcher, and I think the information that he has is based on pretty sound facts, and from that, he's giving you some commentary and analysis, and I think that's pretty fair. And the comments that we're seeing coming in from our Maverick family tonight, I think, are also pretty much on point. So
yes, and I was interested to see somebody had posted something like several million chickens in the United Kingdom were destroyed. Like that's not a light number.
Yeah, and
at all.
One of the people on here, Arkansas Whoop Ass, is his handle. Says he has worked in the food supply chain industry or sector for many years, and says that there's no way this is a coincidence, that you can't have this kind of thing going on for 2 straight years and have it be a coincidence. I was just speculating because when I first heard about it, I thought the first thing that came to my head was maybe because of the lockdowns and supply chain issues, maybe some of these factories are having financial troubles, and we were dealing with a rash of arsons because they were having financial problems. But now I'm just thinking, no, I'm just not thinking in terms that are nearly sinister enough, right? It's like, no, this is a much bigger problem, and there are much more powerful globalist forces at play, because this is just even too big for just a bunch of insurance scammers to be orchestrating it.
I gotta mute my mic.
Sure. So yeah, my mind just isn't dark enough, I guess.
And well, hey, I think that this type of conversation is quite healthy to have, and is quite enlightening. And when you remove all the impossibilities, all that is left is the possibilities. And so,
thank you, Mr. Spock. Isn't that a line from Star Trek? Star Trek? I don't know. Star Trek 3, I think, but it doesn't matter.
Pretty sure it's Sherlock Holmes.
Well, okay, it probably was, but Mr. Spock stole it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you know, you can get awfully dark, and I personally feel that a lot of that darkness is accurate. I don't write that kind of stuff on my blog site because it is pretty well speculative. But yeah, I could get into some real dark stuff if you wanted to go there.
And hello back to Lawn Bowler 1972, who says, good morning from Australia. Welcome to the program. Thanks for tuning in. It's 7:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. I don't know exactly what time it is over in Australia, but
it's 12 hours
morning.
ahead. He's talking to us into tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're going back to the future in Australia.
We're time traveling.
Yeah, so very interesting stuff. Ian, is there any other information or any other perspective on any of this that you might cast light on tonight before we move on and start talking about these other subjects?
From my perspective and the sources that I follow, I think it's too early. We just don't have enough information coming out. You know, I talked about, well, we really want to know the nature of a lot of these incidents. 6 or 12 food processing plants going up in a relatively short period of time. It may be coincidence. Statistically, it seems to me it's probably improbable, but it might be just that. So I'll be following it now, looking for more. I don't know how many there are left, but
Ninth Citizen wants you to give people some sources. So what would be some reference points that you might leave with people tonight?
Okay. If you want to follow me, thepoog.com.
You want to spell that out?
Yeah.
In fact, it's okay, and I'll put it up on a banner here for you. I think we actually already have it. There it is right there.
Poog.
Thepoog.com.
Poog. Remember that one? I made you laugh last time.
Yeah, you're up. It's right up on the screen there for folks.
Okay.
I have it up for you.
I want to draw attention to, I'm just looking for it. I'm going into my blog on the site, which is in the right-hand end of it. And if you go to my blog page, the second most recent article is called "It's Time to Leave the Nest." And in it, I listed roughly some 24 sources that I use. There's really good sources for stuff. These are people who really do the research and do it well. Very smart people, and putting it all together. So you can go and I encourage you to start looking at the stuff that I look at, and it'll really build up the big picture for you.
So that's the important reference point right there is Ian's website, thepoog.com. And if you go there, that will not only provide you with Ian's perspective and analysis and his articles on this subject and many others of real interest, but it will also give you the references that he has used and links to much of the research material that he has employed while writing these articles and preparing for this broadcast here tonight. So that's thepoog.com. And this is funny. Ian, do you want to tell people what the Poog stands for?
It's an acronym for pissed off old guy.
Which I can absolutely relate to.
Of course.
But yeah, great website and lots of very helpful and insightful information there. So check out Ian's website. He is one of the best researchers out there, and he is a freedom reporter. And that's why we have him on again tonight as a contributor to the program. And with that being said, we are going to take another very brief break. And we'll be right back after this message explaining how you can support our work as independent journalists here on the Maverick News Channel.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And you can donate directly at freedomreporters.com. Just type in that URL. You can make donations there to support our work so we can get better equipment, pay for bandwidth, pay for the space on some of these other platforms that we're expanding out onto, and just help us keep the lights on here and cover some of the expenses that we have. That's freedomreporters.com. There is a hot link in the YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble descriptions. Please go over and subscribe on Rumble if you can, because we're trying to get as many people to migrate to that platform, which is a free speech platform where we are not going to be censored. We're concerned, of course, that we might end up being censored and kicked right off YouTube and Facebook because they're all about censorship. So Rumble is where you want to go and subscribe to the show. We'd really appreciate your support over there. But in the meantime, I'll throw it over to Brendan, and he will explain how you can support us if you're not in a position to make a donation at freedomreporters.com.
You could certainly give this video a thumbs up, as it is going to help defeat the algorithm. And you could also, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. The more subscribers, the better. It's always good. We have a lot of exciting things that we're going to be bringing to you in the near future, so you're going to want to stay tuned in. And then lastly, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss a show.
And the word that we're getting is that possibly in a very short period of time, we might be joined by, I think his name is Ian, who is involved with the bikers who have been planning to go to Ottawa. So hopefully we'll make a connection there, and he'll join us on the program to talk about Ottawa police and the Ottawa municipal government banning, at least that's the way I understand it, but they're banning these bikers from going up there next weekend. And there has already been weeks and weeks, if not months, of planning to go into this rally that they were planning on having up there to pay tribute to Canada's veterans. But apparently they don't like people who ride motorcycles, and they don't want the tourism dollars, and they're prepared to crack down hard on anyone who goes up there, smiles, waves a Canadian flag, and rides into town on a motorcycle. So I don't know exactly why that's illegal, but they're going to make it so, and we're going to find out more about that hopefully shortly when we connect with one of the people involved with that whole event, which may or may not still happen, but it's certainly not going to happen with the blessing of the municipality of Ottawa or the Ottawa police. That being said, let's move on and talk about another pretty weird story that Ian has been digging into as a researcher, and that's this whole documentary, which I became aware of over on the Rumble channel. It's certainly not available on YouTube because the information is far too controversial, and it does revolve around COVID and the pandemic. And that's this documentary called Watch the Water. This documentary alleges that the virus, the COVID virus, was created, man-made, with snake venom forming the foundation for the creation of this virus, and that there is snake venom in the vaccines. In fact, that it's alleging that they're injecting snake venom directly into the veins of people. Now, that's the claim. I'm not buying it. And we did touch on this, but my analysis of that documentary, I provided based solely on my watching it, and it seemed pretty clear to me that the methodology that was being employed was faulty. That's as far as I got with it. I didn't feel it was worth a lot more of my time, but people keep on messaging me. The only reason I commented to begin with was because they kept saying, have you seen this documentary? It will blow your mind and you have to watch it and please comment on it. And a lot of people have watched this thing. Millions of people now have watched this documentary, Watch the Water. And I know Ian has been digging into it, and he has a little bit, I think a better fix on it than I did. And I don't know if you want to mention before we get to Ian, is there anything you want to add there, Brendan?
No. I mean, I'm kind of on board with you. I felt that the documentary had a heavy amount of sensationalism to it. I'm just not sure. I had also done some research on some snake venom stuff too, and there is some snake venom has been something that they've been using in medicines since like 50 years, maybe more. It's already. I don't know what the problem with it is at this point, but either way, I'm not really the best source of.
Well, I think the problem with it is that they're saying that the virus was made with, from this mRNA thing was made from snake venom, and that they're connecting all these dots, which may or may not actually be connectable, but they're suggesting that this is like a war on Christianity because there's DNA from snakes in it or something, and it changes people's DNA by putting snake DNA into your DNA, and therefore it's just like this crazy war on religion. I don't know. That's how crazy the whole thing kind of got. And you know what? Again, I think that there's some truth in this war on Christianity. There absolutely is. That's I don't think that's any kind of a conspiracy. There are forces at play out there conducting this kind of warfare. I think that there is evil behind what we're seeing in the government reaction and response to the pandemic. But let's get to Ian, because he's been dealing with facts largely, and enough facts that I think we'll get a better bead on this whole thing. So Ian, am I very far off the mark in the way that I'm interpreting or explaining this documentary to people?
Not at all. It came to my attention. A friend sent it to me. I'm going to say 2 weeks ago. It was probably making its first set of rounds at that point. And I started listening to it, and I got in about 5 minutes, and I turned it off. It was just total garbage. The guy is he's unqualified to speak about that kind of technology. He's a chiropractor. My wife and I use a chiropractor. We value their services, but they don't go around talking about biochemistry and cellular biology and stuff like that, which is a level you kind of have to get down to do a good refutation.
And we're talking about Dr. Brian Ardis is the name of the doctor.
Yeah, and his Watch the Water thing. I never did get to the point where figuring out what water's got to do with it. I think it's some.
The weird thing was I did pick up on it, and it was actually only a brief reference within the entire documentary, but they talked about wastewater and how they have been analyzing wastewater to find out if there is COVID in a community.
Yeah.
And that's why they're saying watch the water. But they were also suggesting, if you really listened to them carefully, that they were suggesting that they were infecting people through the water supply because COVID was then becoming present in the water supply, in the wastewater, and then getting back into the water supply. If you listen very carefully to the way they were saying it, but you really had to follow carefully to kind of get what they were talking about. But the main thing is watch the water, because they're saying that we know that in some communities they've been analyzing the wastewater to see if there is COVID present in a given neighborhood or community.
Yeah, and you have, at that point, you have to start being critical of what's being said. So COVID is not present in the wastewater. COVID is a disease. It's a disease caused by a virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And if there's anything in the wastewater, it would be the virus itself, not the disease. So I guess you can do assays of wastewater. You go to your sewage treatment plant, scoop out some water, and there are biochemical tests you could do to see if SARS-CoV-2 is present. Okay.
And I know that they have done that. That is a fact.
It is,
but it doesn't mean you're going to get COVID if you drink the water.
And when I first encountered that a couple of months ago, I thought, what's the point? I mean, what are you learning from it?
Right.
So the connection into the concentration of a virus in the wastewater supply, which comes from your bodily function evacuation of, at that point, dead virus or just viral fragments. What it gives you in terms of epidemiological knowledge, I have no idea. Somebody must have done something to come up with this, but it's not something I want to spend any time on. It's just way out in left field as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know what he's trying to do. I guess he's trying to say that if you analyze the wastewater, you can find something that is homologous to snake venom. But his whole premise, when you read Wash the Water, if you start from the beginning, you really have to go through it point by point and refute each point. He's guilty of terrible inferential connections that are simply implausible. They're not logically sound to get from snake venom to either the SARS-CoV-2 virus or the vaccine. And so you posted my website, and if you go to the blog, again, the second most recent article was the one on It's Time to Leave the Nest, listing all my sources. The most recent one is the article has a section in which I refute the whole snake venom issue. And I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it because it was so tenuous and so ridiculous. I just don't waste my time on things like that. But I did cite two people, Dr. Paul Cottrell.
So sorry, Ian, I'll bring it up here on the screen for people. Where should I go on your site?
Go to see blog.
Yep.
Right hand. Okay, click on that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what comes up. Okay, so you see It's Time to Leave the Nest. That's where you find my sources. But above that, go to the what is
the vaccine, snake venom debunked.
Snake venom debunked. Click on that.
Mm-hmm.
You scroll down a bit and keep going. You'll come down to snake venom. Keep going, keep going. Okay, whoa, you're into snake venom stuff. Just go back a little bit to the heading. There's the snake venom claim. So there's a link to the Watch the Water video. And next is a video put out by Paul Cottrell in which he refutes the hypothesis that snake venom is connected with either the vaccine or the virus. And he does it by looking at the sequence of nucleotides in snake venom and those involved with the virus and the vaccine. And there are common nucleotides, but there are a very large number of nucleotides which don't lead up, which means that they're not homologous, they're not related. And that is kind of the level you have to go down to. That you're down into cellular biology at that point, and genome sequencing and stuff like that. And very few of readers or watchers probably have the depth of knowledge to even follow that. But I put it in there. And then if you scroll down just a little bit farther, Dr. Chris Martenson does a much better analysis of this whole thing in which he debunks the whole hypothesis. And these people, Dr. Paul Cottrell, he has a PhD in what is it in? It's in something to do with he was doing work with in economics or markets or something like that. He worked as an engineer at Ford Motors, so he's got a degree in engineering, an undergraduate degree, I imagine. And he's most recently gone through medical school, and he's now a full-blown MD. He's also finishing off a master's at Harvard, in which he was doing some research into, special enzymes for fighting something rather that I didn't really follow. So he knows the stuff. Dr. Chris Martenson, he's, as I referenced, he can read all those scientific papers and decipher all of the scientific jargon too. So they have essentially debunked thoroughly the whole hypothesis.
And to your point there, Ian, there's been plenty of scientists and medical professionals who have gone against the grain on this subject, and they've looked into this stuff. I believe that if this were the case, they would have highlighted that immediately as some kind of problem. Brett Weinstein, he's a evolutionary biologist, and he's looked at the strain. He's one of the first people to really say, look, everything here kind of looks like a man-made virus, if you ask me. That's a huge point to make, that there's plenty of people who are not being paid by Pfizer who have looked at this.
And here's the problem: when people put out videos like this, they catch the popular imagination of people who are not informed and don't have the background to do a critical analysis. So they sound, well, oh, okay, yeah, sounds like it could be true. And the guy's got a doctor in front of his name, a doctor of chiropractic, but he's still a doctor. He must know what he's talking about. And they run with it.
More than that, and maybe I can get you to comment on this, Ian, but I have to kind of point to this Stu Peters, who is the host of this show, the Stu Peters Show.
Yeah.
This was being presented to people as a kind of documentary. What it really is a long form interview with some heavy production values added to it to make it look credible. So Stu Peters has a pretty nice background there. I think it's a green screen background, but it's done well. He has his nice yellow tie on and his suit coat, so he looks pretty official and stuff. Not like me. I'm looking kind of sloppy these days, but he's got his little graphic up on the corner and nice graphics on lower thirds, titles on the bottom. So he looks, pretty networky, and that gives you some level of credibility in the eyes of the public, right?
Yeah.
So, as I watched this, it seemed pretty apparent to me that as a journalist, I don't think Stu Peters, and I don't mean to be, terribly critical of him, but it just seemed to me that for a guy with an audience the size that he has, he should have been asking tougher questions and trying to, I just think, provide a more critical view of this whole thing. He just kind of presents this stuff as though it's fact or something, and people should buy into it. He's kind of throwing kerosene on a little fire here with his show.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I agree entirely. And the problem is that people like Cottrell and Martinson, I mean, there are hundreds, thousands of full-fledged doctors, medical doctors, people with PhDs in biochemistry and biology and genetics and all of this. All they have to do is watch about 3 minutes and say, this is wasting my time. And to try and do a refutation of it, I mean, you've got to put in a couple of hours at least.
Yeah.
And these people don't have that kind of time to waste on this kind of, what I would call, in this case, garbage.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of where I was at with it when I was watching it. People were pretty jacked up about it, and you can see even the numbers just on this one upload: 38,274 people. 3,284,942 views on this one post. So, I mean, Stu Peters has pushed some buttons here, and he's generated a lot of clicks.
Yeah.
But when I watched it as a longtime journalist, I thought it was, in my view, a little on the sloppy side. And I'm sorry, Stu, I don't know you, and I don't mean to be particularly critical of you. I respect that you're out there trying to do good work, but in this particular case, with the level of public attention this has generated, I just have to look at it with a critical eye, and I just can't buy into it on the level that other people have.
And I would say to Stu Peters, if he happens to watch this, is that he needs to readdress this. He needs to get some real experts who would comment on it if he wants to go beyond what I provided, and essentially do a retraction on it. That's what he should do if he's a journalist of repute.
I think with information like this, the important thing that needs to be done, should have been done from the beginning, is you need balance. If you can't absolutely substantiate a claim as fact, and there is some level of speculation, nuance, gray area, you need to get more than one opinion on this kind of information. That's what I would have done as a journalist with this kind of information. And maybe this Dr. Artis, maybe his intentions are pure as well, but clearly to me, the methodology here was flawed. So
one other interesting point that came up in my research is that Dr. Artis has, in fact, a company which sells, I'll call it health products, and he has a line of products for counteracting snake venom. So if you actually do go into the actual research, read the research papers, as I do, you'll find usually at the bottom there is a section in which the authors declare their conflicts of interest. Um,
Mhm.
and Artis should have declared his conflict of interest. He's selling a product to counteract the hypothetical condition which he is promoting.
Yeah, and I don't, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not sitting here trying to sell the vaccine to anybody, because you all know what my status is. I didn't take it. That's my personal choice. I didn't do it. I'm not going to, and I'm glad I didn't. And that enough said about that at the moment. But I'm not here to try to, discredit anybody just because I'm on the other side or something. I just think that it's extremely important for anyone, because of what's gone on with the level of salesmanship and marketing behind the vaccines. I just think that if we're anybody on the freedom side, freedom of choice, all the side I'm talking about. I'm trying to choose my words carefully so we don't get kicked out of YouTube, right? But I think we need to be extremely careful to deal with as much information information in as factual a way and in as balanced a way and in as fair a way as possible, so that we're giving people quality information that they can make good decisions with, right?
That's right.
And so it's not helpful when a documentary like this comes out, in my view, that is so one-sided, so unbalanced, so ungrounded in sound methodology. It just doesn't help.
Yes.
I just thought of something. It just popped into mind. Is when you go back into the 19th century, there were people traveling around from town to town, and they were known as snake oil salesmen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they had little bottles of a liniment that you take this and would cure cancer and tuberculosis and
miracle cure.
Right.
Cures every ailment.
So it's extremely important. And actually, Ian, I used that very phrase the first time we addressed this about not quite a week ago, I guess. I said, it seems like they're selling snake oil here. And it's imperative that we not get caught up in stuff that we can't absolutely stand behind as freedom reporters, as real journalists. We need to stand behind our information. And if you can't stand behind it, you need to at least, if you're still going to provide information, you need to put it into context. It's this only, if this can be debunked, and it has been debunked, I think, largely by experts, as Ian has highlighted, and there are references to those experts within Ian's work over at thepoog.com.
Yeah.
So you can find those references over there. But if this whole thing, this just gives ammunition to people on the other side who are trying to force inoculations on people and discredit the freedom movement by saying, see, told you, they're all a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. They all think that this virus came from some flying snake that goes flying through the air and injects you with its venom from its fangs or something. They're all crazy. And if they're not doing that, they're taking spoons and trying to stick them to their foreheads with magnetism. They're all nuts. So,
and the information war is going to be one on facts, plain and simple. It's not going to be one on this sort of stuff.
That's exactly right. So,
out of fairness to Dr. Artis, in my blog article, I did put a link to his site where you can go and buy his special V anti-venom products if you feel you're in need of it. So
the thing that really struck me about the arguments that he laid out was that he was connecting dots, right? Connecting this piece of information to that piece of information. But it just didn't seem to me like, just because you find a reference to snake venom in a study over here, and then there's some other study over here or some document that also makes reference to snake venom, and then there's something about snakes over here, and then there's something about COVID and wastewater, and then, yeah, I can draw a bunch of lines between things as well, but unless those lines are truly relevant and backed up with solid information, and there's some reason to connect those dots, you can make not like, it's like numerology sometimes, right? People, Donald Trump was born on this day in whatever year, and if you look at how many times the sun turns around, Mars in the metaverse, the next thing you know, it's pretty obvious that he's the Antichrist. Well, I'm sorry, man, but like, you got to do a little bit better than that for me. I mean, like, you're going to connect dots. I want to make sure that there's some relevance to the connections. And I just, to some degree, I thought they're stretching here a bit, right?
Hopefully this isn't too off topic, but they did that exact same thing with Kamala Harris, where they were like, she is named after an East Indian deity, and it's all about hell and brimfire and the coming of the end of times. It's like, no.
I'm pretty sure, Brendan, you're the Antichrist, because there's a bunch of dots that got, I'm telling you, man, just letting you know, you might not even be aware, but there are dots being connected even as we speak.
Well, I never thought of myself as so important, but thank you.
And what I said is maybe not entirely based on science or facts, with regard to my reference to this documentary or interview or whatever, this video, right? But I'm sorry, I don't think you need to dig very deep. All you need to do is really watch it with a critical eye and really pay attention. And it doesn't take much to go, wait a minute, I'm not sure those two dots should be connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's you have to go through it slowly and carefully. It's kind of like when a politician is speaking. They'll say 40 different things in 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't give you enough time. You're still back on the first one trying to say, well, is that right? And in the meantime. So
let's just bring the audio up on this for just a moment. I just want to,
sure.
This actually got way more evil for me since I read that text than even before I read the text. I cannot believe the amount of evil behind this pandemic with what I've realized since then. I realized all of a sudden that monoclonal antibodies are anti-venom. The federal government doesn't want us using anti-venom. Why are they bashing anti-venom, and why are we finding anti-venom works against COVID? Is it not a virus? Is it a venom? Like, this is what I want to know. Like, is COVID a venom? And this is why they don't want you using monoclonal antibodies.
I mean, that sounds completely insane as a theory.
It is completely insane.
I mean, how would the masses be infected by snake bites?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you believe the mass media is controlled?
Of course.
You actually do believe that?
Yes.
So you believe that whatever's being pumped out in the media is being orchestrated and controlled?
Of course.
Like across all of it?
Across all of it.
Okay, good. All right, so in my head, I was like, okay, how do they keep people on that story? So there's this mass media group who are telling a huge story. They're all telling the same story around the world. Whenever anybody says anything against that narrative, what do they use now to combat that in the mainstream media?
Disinformation.
Yeah, they call them fact checkers.
Yeah, fact checkers, yeah.
Fact checking is the opposite of fact checking.
The arbiters of lies are the fact checkers.
By definition, fact checkers are to divert you from truth and take you back to a narrative you're being sold worldwide.
Right.
If it's true that COVID could actually be snake venom, and how I got there was they don't support the use of anti-venom called monoclonal antibodies,
right,
because they work. The easiest way to figure that out is, has that ever been fact checked? And I wanted to know, Was there ever any mention that the source could have been a snake?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. Over and over and over in the media in January and February of 2020 are nonstop publications that the original source could either be from bats, snakes, or pangolins. And every time the snake is mentioned, fact checkers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 constantly fact check it and spin it to the bats. There's no fact checking about bats. They keep letting you look at bats. In the beginning, in January of 2020, the scientists inside of China said this can't be from these bats. These bats hibernate and it's the winter. When they did genetic sequences from the antibodies in the people who were sick in Wuhan, they found that their genetic sequence was not most like bats. They were most like 2 snakes. Proteins from the Chinese crate and the king cobra. Then
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a revelation. So if fact checkers fact check something, which is the opposite of fact checking, and they say that something isn't a fact, it must actually be a fact, and therefore it must be snake venom that this whole thing is infecting people with, because what's the logic behind that? Because they fact checked it and they said it wasn't snake venom, therefore it must be. And then they found that there was something in the virus or something that was like, it was more like snake venom than a virus from a bat, and it couldn't be from a bat because they were hibernating when the whole thing started. And so, of course, it's got to be the snake venom, and the mass media is controlled, and it's complete pure evil. Ugh. I'm sorry, folks, but
nothing he said makes any sense.
Yeah,
And there's no scientific basis for any of it.
So, having a real tough time with this. Yeah, having a tough time.
I find in April of 2020, there's a research study published in.
We'll just let this roll a bit. Again, like there's all these dots being connected, but really, is there any relevance between the things that are being connected? And that was me just randomly dipping into this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And yeah, I will absolutely be the first one to say that a lot of the information that we've received from public health, mainstream media, has been inconsistent. They've flip-flopped. They told us all you need to do is get one shot of this vaccine and you won't get the virus, and you're 97% protected. And all you need to do is get the second shot just to be absolutely sure. And then we all get our lives back. And that didn't work out. And now we're on to 3 and 4. And we saw even today, Brendan, I know you pointed out a video from the Ontario Medical Officer of Health who says that people who are compromised should be looking at maybe getting even a 5th booster shot now. So the information we're getting there has been pretty low quality, I would say, all along too. So where are we at with that? I don't know. Well, I do know. I don't absolutely trust that either.
And you have to remember, according to Joe Biden, we were supposed to die in the wintertime.
Well, it was supposed to be a very dark winter, as I recall, and from what he said in his campaign speeches,
the winter of death upon the unvaccinated. I don't know. I'm still here. Rick, you're still here.
But you see how, and again, Ian, maybe you can comment on this, but it seems to me this Dr. Ardis and Stu Peters are both pushing people's buttons to get a response. And what response do they want? They want people to click on this video and watch it. They're looking for clicks.
Yeah,
and
I agree. That's it.
And maybe, and I can't say for sure, but maybe they're selling us something. And it might just be snake oil.
Well, I think Ian has pointed out already, like the motives for Mr. Artist or Dr. Artist are very clear.
That I put that out.
Maybe.
He has a conflict of interest.
Mhm.
Whether that is the motivation for putting out this theory or not, I don't know.
He may very well believe all this, and his
Oh, I'm sure
intentions
he
might be
does.
completely pure. I don't know.
He does believe it.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced after watching the thing, and I think the information you've laid out for us tonight, Ian, also lays out a pretty strong case to suggest that this needs a lot more scrutiny before we buy into this whole thing. And I'm very concerned that this will, in the end, prove to be kind of a setback for people seeking truth in the face of other lies coming from other sources that are being controlled and distributed by media outlets that are much more powerful than this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a distraction, and as you pointed out, it brings unfavorable scrutiny upon the whole community opposed to the official narrative.
Yeah. And so as I pointed out even the other night, I just think, again, people need to be careful about people need to watch everything and read everything critically. Question everything you see on this program. Question everything that you are being fed. Get lots of information. Go ahead and watch this video. Watch other videos. Read as much as you can. Educate yourself. Just because something might not be based in fact, or it might be poor quality, you can still expose yourself to it.
Mhm.
But if you're getting quality information in addition to that, and you're able to think critically and look at things objectively, you should be able to, pretty quickly separate good information from bad information and then come to good conclusions.
Ask questions all the time, and remember, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
And another thing that I like to make a distinction about, there's this broad appeal to science and to scientists and experts. And for me, science is embodied in published scientific research, and that's the limit on real science. I mean, there's a lot of research going on that isn't published yet, okay, and you can talk about that. But if you want a starting point that everybody can agree upon, as coming from science, you go to the peer-reviewed articles in respectable journals. Now, not all of those are good, and many have been retracted because they were they had detectable bias and or error. But by and large, the research that is published in a peer-reviewed journal is the level where you need to be doing your research. If somebody says, well, the expert says, or the scientist says, that is opinion. If John Doe comes on, Dr. John Doe, and he's a scientist, and he says blah, 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 okay, that's his opinion, unless he says blah, 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 as found in this paper, in this journal, and here's the reference and the link to it. Okay. Otherwise, the question you need to be asking is that scientist, the expert being cited, who pays their, who signs their paycheck, and that determines the quality of the information you're going to get. So anything that the government trots out in terms of an expert opinion or a scientific opinion, by and large, is going to support the government narrative, because the person being trotted out is either directly or indirectly being paid by the government.
Yeah, and we've seen, other studies and articles and scientific journals and medical journals and media reports also influenced politically and influenced, because some people were fearful of losing their jobs, and also we've seen information omitted, censored, or just left out because, again, people have been fearful of reprimands, loss of, say, a medical license, and so on. So it's been very difficult to know whether you're getting proper quality information surrounding any of this COVID crap or any other aspect of the whole pandemic. So
yeah, and that touches on another thing that happens is somebody trots out a study and they say, here's a study that shows X works wonderfully, and X can be anything that you can strap on your face. One study, and it may be a good study or it may be a flawed study. We don't know. You have to go and actually look at it from a scientific point of view. But here's the thing is that if you have done a master's degree or a PhD in any of the sciences, your thesis, how many citations do you have in your thesis? I'm going to bet you've got in excess of 100, and maybe 200 or 300. You would never earn a degree by writing a thesis based on 1 or 2 citations to support some claim or other. You just wouldn't get it. So the idea that an expert can come out and say, well, this paper shows blah, 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 and therefore it is scientific gospel, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Maybe, but you need to look at the other 95 papers in that field to understand where it fits in. So
you're absolutely right, and then there's other factors as well, whether it be scientists who want to continue getting funding from the government. They'll publish out papers that'll talk about that.
Yeah.
The environment is a big one of those factors, as we have seen. It's very easy to point that one out. And the universities are also being overrun with woke ideology and woke players. So that's another thing that you have to look at as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm just going to put your website up here. Thepoog.com is the pissed off old guy.com, thepoog.com. That's Ian's website where you can find the bulk of his work. He is a great researcher. He spends a lot of time going through documents, studies, articles. There's all kinds of references that you'll find in there on these 2 subjects that we dealt with Ian tonight.
Oops, sorry.
Got to bring that down because I'm getting echo there.
Sorry.
So, yeah, go to thepoog.com and you'll find out more about everything Ian has been talking about. He is, we're here again trying to get you closer to the truth, and that's why I asked Ian to come back in and contribute as one of the Freedom Reporters here tonight, and we'll have him back on the program as well. Ian, is there anything else you'd like to add with regard to the whole snake oil or snake venom theory tonight before we
I dismissed it within 5 minutes of seeing the first video, and was somewhat chagrined having to come back and revisit the whole issue because it had blown up and gone viral. So it's nothing I want to add there. It's concluded as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I did want to bring you in on this discussion, and I'm glad we finally found the time to get you back on the program, because as soon as we were dealing with it and I realized you had been doing some research into it, I thought it was important that we give people a better perspective on it, because it is I mean, I didn't really even want to talk about it initially, but because so many people have watched the video, so many people have come to us saying, why don't you guys talk about this? This is really important. So I thought it was important that we give them some quality references and some quality information that they can really find a better foundation with.
Good.
And
Yeah,
it starts with your website.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
did that. It's an important service to get that kind of knowledge out to people.
Yeah. So with that, we will wrap up with Ian for tonight. Ian, thank you so much for joining us again on the program. And folks, Ian Nunn, big round of applause. And we will have you back on the program again real soon, Ian. Thank you so
Anytime.
much.
Okay,
All
Rick,
right.
thanks a lot.
It's been a pleasure,
Take
sir.
care.
Thank you.
And there he goes, Ian Nunn, great freedom reporter. Go check out his website at thepoog.com, which I think is just hilarious. The pissed off old guy.
Even when you say the poog, it's like, what is that?
I'm jealous. I wish I had that. I wish I had a website with an acronym as clever as that.
Well, you are also a pissed off old guy. So
I am.
Yeah.
I fit. That's why we fit in so well together. I am pissed off. Now, because I am a pissed off old guy, I'm not going to let them take our freedom away. I'm going to keep on fighting here with Brendan and with Ian and with all of you out there who are also great freedom fighters, great patriots. You're all a bunch of mavericks, maverick Top Guns. And this is how you can support our work here so that we can continue to ensure that everyone here has a voice.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And you can donate at freedomreporters.com. Click the hot link in the YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble descriptions. It'll take you directly to the donation page. Even a small donation goes a long way around here because we use every penny as efficiently as is possible to keep the lights on, to buy equipment, to expand out onto these other platforms, to get our phone system up and running, and now to maintain it, because there are costs every month associated with doing all of this work. And we can't do that without your support. So again, you can donate at freedomreporters.com.
Furthermore, if you are unable to help us out financially, you could smash the like button, as it helps defeat the algorithm. You could also make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to share this with your friends and your family. And on top of that, make sure you hit the bell so that you receive notifications and you don't miss a show, because we're going to keep on trucking with this thing for as long as we can.
And
thank you so much.
Speaking of keeping on trucking, we're hoping that we might be able to connect with someone from that bikers rally that is supposed to go to Ottawa next weekend, but now we're finding out that the thing has been banned or prohibited, or bikers are being banned from the downtown area of Ottawa. So the cops and the municipality have tried to put the kibosh on the whole thing. So really hoping that we can connect with someone from that group. We do have a contact out there. Any word back yet, Brendan?
No, not at this juncture.
Well, maybe send off one more message, maybe, and see if we can get somebody on here to join us to talk about this thing. I mean, if they really care about freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, the freedom to go down to the War Memorial and pay their respects to Canada's veterans and fallen heroes from the various wars that Canada has been involved in through history. If they really care, then, I think that they need to come on here and share some information with our viewers, because if you want staunch patriotic freedom fighters, you've got them all right here. And we want to know what's going on. We need to know, because I think that, a sizable number of our people in our audience were probably planning on going down there. We were certainly going to be following it next weekend, but I'm not sure where this really leaves the bikers. And with Bill 100 in place, the new provincial legislation that gives the province and police in Ontario ongoing permanent powers, which are similar to those enacted under the Emergencies Act, which would allow them to confiscate someone's motorcycle on a whim.
Yeah.
If they were seen if you're seen in Ottawa next weekend, because of Bill 100, this is actually how serious this is. You could even be a local resident, not participating in anything at all, other than maybe going down to the local corner store. But if you're out driving around on a motorcycle and a cop sees you and decides that there's a guy who might commit a crime by going downtown on his motorcycle to drive by the War Memorial, I think I'm going to pull him over, and he can confiscate your motorcycle, take away your driver's license, arrest you, fine you, throw you in jail, and you don't even have any recourse.
And you have to look at the consequences of what happened in Ottawa. So they were so happy to clear out, well, just during the trucker rally in February, after they cleared everybody out of there, regular citizens weren't even able to go into downtown areas to go and purchase a coffee, things like that.
So with the way this new legislation is written, it's already in place. It is the law now, and they passed this legislation in the middle of the night. They convened the House, dealt with the legislation. All three major parties voted in favor of it. Only one member of provincial parliament was there to vote against it, and that was Rick Nichols from the Ontario Party. And there was another member, an MPP, Belinda Karahalios, who had previously spoken out against the legislation. But of course, she wasn't informed that the vote was going to take place. They didn't tell her because they knew she was against it. So she didn't get to vote. Not that in the end it would have made any difference anyway. Those two votes would have, wouldn't have made a difference, other than, of course, tell you who is in favor of freedom and who isn't. And it's a sad day when the entire legislature votes in favor of something as draconian as Bill 100, where now we're already seeing a situation where freedom-loving, Canadian-loving patriots who just want to go for a rally, not even a protest, but are going to go down to Ottawa, apparently, for what was supposed to be a rally to show respect to Canada's veterans at the War Memorial, is being shut down. Not allowed to do it. Not allowed to pay respects to veterans. And even if there was an aspect of this that was related to, freedom, the freedom movement, so what? Now you're not allowed to like freedom? Freedom is somehow, with these crazy radical municipal officials and police, the senior executive, the senior administrators from the Ottawa Police Service, and I would say from Justin Trudeau's office as well, and the Prime Minister himself, these people are, I don't know, they're conflating freedom now with Nazism, fascism. I don't know when freedom became a bad word, but somehow they've twisted it and turned it into something that it isn't. The opposite. We're living an upside down world in Canada today, folks, and this crap has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. Those bikers, they're just your next door neighbors. These are not like, Hell's Angels rolling into town. These
Yeah.
are many of them veterans themselves. I know I've seen where they have participated in Remembrance Day ceremonies and other events to pay tribute to veterans at other war memorials and cenotaphs in other communities. And they were coming from all over the place to participate in this next weekend. And we really need to get one of the people on here who is involved in this whole thing. So hopefully we can do that in the next little while here. We did get an indication that they might sign on with us, and they do have the link to come into the studio probably around this time. So we'll see what happens. But I can also understand why they might be afraid to talk to us. We're going to stand up and talk about it anyway.
So I've been looking high and low for an official announcement regarding this ban. And the only thing I've been able to find is from Twitter. And if you'll allow me, I would like to put this up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only thing I've been able to find. But I'm not sure how official that is. This is not from a City of Ottawa Facebook page or Twitter page. It's not from Ottawa Police Twitter page. It says, since the time of the unlawful protest, the City of Ottawa and the Ottawa Police Services have maintained a posture that no vehicle-based or supported protests, rallies, or events will be allowed in the downtown core. This includes areas near Parliament Hill and the National War Memorial. The line with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, protests, demonstrations, and rallies, etc., will continue to be allowed in the downtown core. In areas such as Parliament Hill and the National War Memorial, vehicles will be excluded from participating in any of these events. We fully appreciate the concerns of residents and working to mitigate disruptions and maintain order. Residents and businesses are still working to heal after the impact of the unlawful protest. In that context, we continue to develop a public safety plan to manage several large events in the coming months.
Uh-huh. Well, we know what it's really about, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We know what it's really about. And these complaints from people, business owners who are trying to heal, let's be honest, okay? There are some people on the other side of the political spectrum who aren't really interested in healing at all. They're just on the other side of the political spectrum, and they know how to work the system. And those are the ones who are lodging the bulk of these complaints, even during the Ottawa Freedom Convoy. And they know how to elicit a response from police. All you have to do is call in and complain about something. We saw that in Red Deer, Alberta yesterday, where there was a freedom rally. And I believe the same thing happened again with those folks out there today. I did receive some more photos from today where someone in the area near, where these people were gathering to support the freedom movement, someone just called and complained. So, of course, police had to show up and respond to the complaint. And then, of course, they're right up there talking to the people at the demonstration. So then it instantly sets up some potential for some friction, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they do. So that's what's really been going on. And the more you want to oppose something, the more you call police and complain about the people doing whatever it is that you don't want them to do. So if you have a bunch of people calling for freedom and they're marching around with some signs, you call the cops and say, they're disturbing me. Yep, they're disturbing me. They're disrupting my business. Because you just happen to be, a Jagmeet Singh, NDP, pro-Justin Trudeau, pseudo-fascist liberal. And you don't believe in freedom at all, and you want these people thrown in jail. So all you do is complain and let the cops do the dirty work for you. Yeah. That's what's going on, folks. That's the truth. And that's the truth.
You look at the demographics of Ottawa, too, being Most of the people who live in Ottawa probably work for government institutions. A lot of these folks that live near the downtown core are very left-leaning. Very left-leaning, and of course they're going to complain about it. And how dare they say businesses are still trying to recover after the events of Ottawa. I will not use the words that they use in this document.
The protest wasn't unlawful either. They just throw that word in there.
Yeah.
And because
exactly.
the cops are politically motivated here,
Mm-hmm.
and they're allowing themselves still to this day to be used as a political tool, which is absolutely inappropriate. The Ottawa cops have no credibility left, not in the eyes of real Canadians. This is a joke.
Big time. But the point I was just about to make there was the city told the businesses not to open.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Ford had these businesses locked down before the convoy arrived.
Yep.
This burden does not belong to any of that, and shame on them, as far as I'm concerned, for even insinuating that it is. The government created problems for those businesses, and it's just like what we're seeing going on in Ukraine. Oh, it's Putin's fault. Well, in this case, they're just saying, well, it's the truckers' fault. It's like, no. Those businesses were closed at your direction. There was a lockdown that was some type of lockdown that we had in Ontario at the beginning of that, and then the city of Ottawa told those businesses to stay closed.
So I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe the bikers will show up and they'll all walk down there, or who knows what. The word that I'm getting from some people that have been sending me messages is that the bikers are going one way or another. But as I said, with the way that Bill 100 is written, better be darn careful about what you do, how you conduct yourself, and you better think twice about even riding a motorcycle around in the city of Ottawa next weekend, because with that bill, you don't even have to commit a crime. They just have to think you might commit a crime, and they can pull you over and take away your motorcycle or your car or your truck. Or they can confiscate other property, for that matter.
It's a hell of an easy thing to do to tow a motorcycle away. Like it's not a hard thing to do. It's not like a transport truck, right? Wonky Man says destruction of freedom of movement was huge. Yes, absolutely.
They can arrest all 1,000. Hey, you know what? Look at what they did down there during the truckers' convoy. What did they do in the end? They cleared that place out by beating the crap out of people. That's what they did. They went down there and they beat the crap out of people. So you don't think they can do it again or won't hesitate? They're going to take steps to make sure that nobody goes down there. And if they do, they're going to have extreme controls on the crowds, because they don't want anybody challenging the government. They don't want anyone paying respects to veterans, because you know the other thing, Brendan?
Mm-hmm.
Our government doesn't respect veterans.
No,
they don't care about our veterans. Our whole political reality has been turned on its head in this country. We now have government supporting terrorists. We've got a government that's in bed with Nazis in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a government that's in bed with terrorists that are going to Ukraine to fight alongside the Nazis. We're sending weapons to Nazis in Ukraine. And even though our government denies it, it's an absolute fact.
Yes.
And in fact, the right sector right now, which is one of the Nazi groups integrated into the Ukraine military, is actually the group that has the most power in terms of what is happening with the Ukrainian military on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones providing the most coordination. They're the ones exerting the most power. And the Azov battalion also has a disproportionate amount of influence within the Ukrainian military and over the Ukrainian government. Now, we can see where all this is going ultimately anyway. Ukraine is not going to win the conflict. But the point that I'm making here is everything is turned upside down. We have another $400 million to send in military aid plus heavy artillery to Ukraine, but we don't have enough to take care of our own veterans.
I got to tell you, I would beg the question, when did the Canadian government ever care about veterans? I have a personal story about this, about my great uncle, not my great uncle, my uncle. He was in the Battle of Hong Kong, and he was captured by the Japanese and placed in a POW camp. And he came home after 1945, and he weighed less than 90 pounds. You know what they compensated him with for a pension on that? $2 a month. Could you imagine the psychological harm that would happen to an individual who's been starved and worked almost to death? And then you look at the homeless population when it comes to veterans. I've seen some pretty horrifying statistics about veterans who have committed suicide, some numbers of which are higher than the casualties that happened in Afghanistan. Where I don't see that the government cares about veterans at all.
Well, we've certainly seen that over and over again, but especially after everything that unfolded in, Iraq, and then, in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad, but I'm just trying to find something here, Brendan. Just give me a moment. If I can find it, I think it'll be pretty telling as well when to kind of back up what I've been saying about all this.
While you're doing that, right quickly, that pension that my uncle had, they took it away in his 70s. So not only was the number like an insult, it's like they took it, the pay of it was an insult, but it was also an insult that they took it away from him.
Yeah.
It's like, no. These guys have been put through the ringer, and there should be more support for them. And I highly doubt putting more genders in official use in the armed forces and adding more woke ideology into armed forces is going to fix any of these real problems.
And what I'm going to show you is a bunch of liberals supporting the war in Ukraine. This is a clip on Twitter showing all these people cheering for the Nazi battalion, the Azov battalion, which is, just so you know, the Azov battalion is a Nazi group that has been now integrated into the Ukrainian military. And this group has ties all the way back to Nazi Germany. During World War II, they had people within the Azov group that supported Adolf Hitler and collaborated with the Nazis. And this is not just like some new thing. This has been around for a long time. But you know what? You can get a liberal to do and support pretty much anything, and maybe even the bulk of the public. You can manufacture consent just by manipulating them through the media and getting them all jacked up. And I don't even know if these people understand what they're chanting and cheering for, but listen to this.
But not only Azov. National Guard, Національна гвардія України також, поліція, батальйони морської піхоти. Люди, взагалі люди у Маріуполі.
Yay.
Yay, Azov, go, yay. Just kidding.
They're cheering for the Nazis. And that's not like cheering for Ukraine. That's not cheering for freedom. That's not cheering for democracy. That's cheering for the Azov Battalion, which has been on the forefront of the battle. They're battle-hardened warriors, but they're Nazis. And they don't even hide it. It's like you go talk to these guys, and we've shown you older documentary footage illustrating all of this, proving it to our viewers. Like, this group really exists. They don't mince words either. These are not like soft Nazis that you find, I don't know, like your Antifa types who are upset about transgenderism, blah, blah, blah. Right? These are guys who are like, you'll find, tattoos of swastikas on their bicep or their chest. And they're like, yeah, you should be a Nazi too.
Yeah.
Because, it's a great thing.
And
I'm not saying, though, sorry, go ahead, Brendan.
For anybody supporting this stuff, it's like, okay, so is this the first war in modern history that the U.S. government, arms manufacturers, PR firms, and the corporate media hasn't lied to us about? Like, give me a break. They've lied about so much. All these other wars that have been a part of all of our lifetimes. And it's like, oh, well, this one is the real one. We need to get on board with this. It's really sickening. I only brought that up to show people Azov and that we're not talking out of our you-know-whats.
Yeah, and you can find references to all of this stuff through the mainstream media prior to the war in Ukraine right now, because some people were concerned before, but now that the conflict has broken out, you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. You're not allowed to acknowledge it, and not allowed to look at this as any kind of an issue or a problem. They refer the media, mainstream media now. I've seen them refer to the Nazis there as the mythical Nazis. Yeah, I saw that just yesterday in an article. The mythical Nazis, which don't exist. No, there's no Nazis in Ukraine. It's all a joke. And just because Zelensky is Jewish, that's supposed to completely debunk the idea that there are Nazis in Ukraine and that these Nazi battalions exist. People don't understand. They really just don't get it. Being a Nazi isn't just about, it's not about being anti-Jewish. That's not what being a Nazi is about. It's about authoritarianism, fascism. They're fascists. Anyway, I'm just letting you know.
It baffles my brain how the media was all in on Nazis in Ukraine narrative, and then out of nowhere they're just like, just forget all that stuff we told you. It's all wrong. Now that Zelensky's here, he liberated Ukraine from the Nazis, and everything he does is good, and everything he touches turns to gold. It's like,
it's bizarre. It really is. And you have these, former Al-Qaeda fighters. They've gone to Ukraine to fight alongside as part of the Ukrainian military. And you have these Nazi groups. And I'm not saying that every soldier is a Nazi. I'm not saying every Ukrainian is a Nazi. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is these are powerful groups, powerful factions within Ukraine, and they want a pure Ukraine. They don't want they want Ukraine for Ukrainians, is what they say. This is fascism. Anyway, that is maybe a whole other issue to deal with. We were still hoping to get somebody on here from that bikers thing. Maybe they don't have the time for us. I don't know.
Yeah, they said they're currently tied up.
Okay, well, enough talk about that. We'll let them deal with it then.
Yep. But in either case, I did come across like a really strange story from the National Post this week. And it's about a lieutenant general of the Canadian Army who is facing allegations of sexual misconduct. At the beginning of April, this individual up and quit his job with the army and ran to Ukraine amid all this investigation, by the way, which they're allegations at this point. He up and quits his job and then runs to the Ukraine to fight as a foreign soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I have some interesting questions about this scenario. If this guy is captured as a lieutenant general, that's really high-ranking stuff there. If this guy is captured by the Russians, wouldn't he be privy to all kinds of classified information with the Canadian military? And isn't that dangerous if Russia gets a hold of this guy? It seems to me a bit of a problem that he was just able to up and walk away amid allegations and an investigation. And I'm weirded out by the fact that, yeah, if this guy is captured, who knows what's in this guy's head and what type of secrets that he could reveal to the Russians. And that's something that could compromise NATO, could compromise aspects of the United States. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem.
Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do here? I'll let you kind of talk to the audience, Brendan, and I'm going to fire up the phone lines for the Rick, you need a moderator, somebody says? I don't know. I don't know what that means. I'm going to fire up the phone lines here. Just give me a minute, and we'll start taking some calls from some people, and that'll give us a little bit of an additional perspective here. So just give me a moment. I'll be right back with you.
Sounds good. So yeah, here's the article. Canadian Forces retired Canadian general under police investigation for alleged sexual misconduct is now in Ukraine. A retired Canadian Forces general is under investigation for alleged sexual misconduct is now in Ukraine. Trevor Cadeau left the Canadian military on April 5th, according to the Department of National Defense. He traveled to Ukraine shortly after with the intention to volunteer for that country's military, which is battling a Russian invasion. Multiple defense sources confirmed to the National Post. The Canadian Forces National Investigation Service, which is investigating Cadeau, originally had difficulty contacting the retired lieutenant general, but has since established communication with him. Senior Canadian military leaders were briefed about Cadeau's decision to travel to Ukraine, according to sources. So, with that being said, the government of Canada is well informed of this individual and well informed of what his intentions were before leaving the country. So the government knew what he was doing and stood by and did nothing. And like I said, you don't reach the rank of general just by simple means of sitting on your arse, but you're privileged to a lot of information. So I'm concerned about circumstances with this story. I really am. The fact that the government knew about what he has done, what he was going to do.
I'm just going to interrupt you here, Brendan, because we only have a limited amount of time in order to make this system work. So we have to get some calls coming in right away in order to make sure things don't kick out. And with that being said, I'm going to roll the promo right now. We'll be right back after this so that we're going to let you know how you can call in and be part of the show and contribute as a Maverick Top Gun.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-FREE. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
And you can call in right now and engage in the conversation. Oh, I thought you were looking at me.
No, I'm saying
sorry,
call
man.
me.
I'm married. Sorry.
No, I'm telling them I'm calling me.
Married, dude. Married. 1-833-975-3733. I'm like, what the heck is he doing? Okay. That's 1-833-975-3733.
Send me the link, eh?
Yeah, that's 1-833-975-FREE. Free.
FREE, free to you. Give us a call.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't flatter yourself, Rick Walker.
Funny. That was funny. Okay, I'm going to send you the link to this area over here, Brendan, so you can make sure your audio is heard. I'll send it to you over here in the private chat, so you've got the link.
Perfect.
And there you go, sir. So call in now, folks, and participate in the conversation. What do you want to talk about tonight? You want to talk about food shortages, the food processing plant fires? Do you want to talk about what's going on in Ottawa? You want to talk about freedom rallies in other parts of Canada? Or do you want to talk about snake venom? Or is there something else on your mind? Call in and participate. Engage in the freedom conversation tonight at 1-833-975-3733. It's been a pretty lively discussion so far tonight, Brendan. What are your takeaways so far from the stuff we've covered?
Ian's website is awesome. I haven't come across that before till today. So I know he's done shows with you before, and I've met his acquaintance in the past, but I didn't know to that extent. So I will be checking out the Poog.com, and it looks like there's a lot to learn. It's very extensive, very in depth.
Okay, and we have a couple of people calling in tonight about the biker rally in Ottawa. Let's go to our first caller tonight, Paul. What are your thoughts on what's going on in Ottawa, or going to be going on? Great. And where are you calling from? Welcome to the program.
Oh, he's not in. You got to plug him in.
Oh, hang on just a second.
Yeah, I'll meet you on the other side, okay?
Okay, hang on here. Just a second, Paul. I need to put you into the actual studio, so just give me one moment, and you should be on the air now. How are you tonight, Paul?
Good. How about you guys?
We're outstanding. And what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just trying to give you some info, but I didn't know if you wanted to. The YouTube channel Live from the Shed has a message from Neil on the Hill right on his YouTube page, and he explains everything of what's going on, the letter he received from Ottawa.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah,
so if you wanted to hear.
Yeah, I'm aware of that website, but I think if those guys want to reach our viewers, and I've gone over there, and there is some useful information, so people are welcome to do that. But I'd like to get the guy on here, and if he cares about freedom,
yeah,
and if he cares
I
about freedom
that.
of speech, we've extended the invitation to him, and I think he could give us 5 minutes of his time. So,
sure, I understand that.
Yeah, so he should come on over here. And I see that the Shed is sponsoring his event. Maybe he's afraid to talk to us because of whatever reason. He doesn't want to be associated with the freedom movement. I don't know. It's a little
But
bit
it sure
weird.
seems like Ottawa wants to cause trouble.
Well, they sure do, don't they? You know, we'll support anybody that wants to go up there and exercise their right to freedom of expression and freedom of speech. But we can't help anybody if they're not going to stand up for themselves either, right? If they're going to run with their tail between their legs and be afraid to talk to people, then, and I'm not saying for sure that's what's going on here, but something doesn't feel right. So he should get his ass over here and talk to us. That's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a great night, and I always watch the show, so
okay.
I just wanted to call in, see if it'd work.
Appreciate that very much, Paul. You call back anytime.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
Appreciate it.
All right, great.
Bye. Who do we have on the line with us now? I don't see a name, but you want to talk about the food shortage, and it looks like you're calling from the Ottawa area.
It's Sue from Chalk River.
Well, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. About those buildings that are down in the States, there is a suspicion down in the States that they were set.
Yep.
I have friends of mine down there that live down there.
Yep.
And they're saying they're set.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be bad because they're not going to be the only ones targeted, apparently.
Yeah, really.
A girlfriend of mine works in one, and she told me that they're on alert. I won't say the company, but
on alert. Alert in what sense?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they could be targeted
as people, as individuals. You mean?
Yeah, employees that work there. The staff has been put on alert that it could happen.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, she works in one, so that was the letter that she got from work.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as the bike rally, I think it's despicable what Ottawa's doing.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, that memorial was for everybody's family members that died.
And
it's horrible. Rolling Thunder put out a video of the military men and women that died today, and it was just touching.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing it for. It's for the memorial. It's nothing to do with a rally or freedom rally.
Mm-hmm.
It's all for the monument. They're taking it back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's just disgusting what they did to the truckers, and now they're doing it to the bikers. And
well, I'll say this. It might not have been a rally for freedom. Maybe they don't care. But that's what veterans fought and died for, right? But I'll say this.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to meet Neil down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm giving him something from my husband, who was a trucker, and his dad was in the military.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on as far as taking it down, but I know he's in talks with the police and the mayor.
Yeah, well, I don't think the police and the mayor give a damn.
I don't think they do either.
But
I think it's Trudeau based.
Yeah, I think that's true too. But you know who does care? We care.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, and that's why Neil needs to come on here.
Yeah.
Because it seems I'm just reading between the lines, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Neil will come on here and set me straight.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think Neil is scared, and I think that he doesn't want to come on.
I don't think he's scared.
I think he's scared.
If I'm talking to him tonight, I'll tell him.
Okay, you tell him that, because it seems to me, and maybe he's just busy. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here. Okay. But we've extended the invitation to him. We don't want 3 hours of his time. We want a few minutes so that our viewers can get a good beat on what's going on. But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Dave from the shed too.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's fine. But here's the thing. It is about freedom. Whether he's saying it is or it isn't, it absolutely is. Everybody knows it's about freedom. But here's why he's afraid. He's afraid to say it. Because as soon as he says it, he knows he's going to get banned. Well, he already got his ass banned. You know what? People need to stop screwing around, and they need to start standing up for their rights. So this is my message to Neil. Grow a spine, pal. All right. You're sitting there right now with all these bikers, and you're trying to lead this group, and you're telling everybody, get your ass to Ottawa for what? For a rally that you're not really calling a freedom rally when really it is. But you're too afraid to say it because you're afraid of what the cops and the municipality are going to do. You've already lost. So,
well, I wonder what they're going to do with the poutine festival that's going on that weekend too.
That doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter. What matters
is going to shut that down.
Yeah, but what matters is anybody fighting for freedom.
Well, liberals endorse Putin, so it's all good.
So that's my message to Neil. Let's stop mincing words and let's stop screwing around. And this is my message to all the bikers and to everybody out there who's supposed to be fighting for freedom. If you're going to fight for freedom, then get off your ass and fight for freedom, because we're here putting it on the line every night. We've been putting it on the line since the beginning of all this BS with all the pandemic lockdowns and every other damn thing going on, okay? And a lot of other people, some of them have gone to jail. Some of them have paid a big financial price. So if you're just going to screw around and play with words and try to play footsie with the police chief and the mayor and play politics with them, then you've already lost, and it's not worth going to your damn event because you're not standing up for freedom at all. So if you're going to stand up for freedom, then damn well do it, or get the hell out of the way and let somebody who will do it get out in front and lead the charge, because we need to do that. We can't have people leading us who are not actually leading us, okay? And we're here fighting for freedom every damn night. So if you're not going to damn well do it, then get the hell out of the way. You're part of the damn problem. So grow a damn spine, get your ass on this show, and set the record straight and start using the right words. And don't pretend you're fighting for freedom when you're bowing down and taking a knee and pretending that your little rally isn't about freedom when it damn well is supposed to be. And everybody going there is really going for that, to fight for freedom, because every one of those veterans that died for our freedom. And if you're not going to support that, then you don't deserve to lead anything. You're part of the damn problem. And I will not sit here night after night, putting it on the line, paying the price with everyone else in our damn movement who's putting it on the line to get behind some soft jellyfish who doesn't have a spine and wants to go and suck up to the damn police chief, interim police chief in Ottawa, who violates everybody's damn rights. You're too busy to come on here and talk to the thousands of people that we have watching tonight? Too busy? Then get the hell out of the way, Neil, and grow a damn spine and start fighting for what really matters and start fighting for what those guys died for. That's my message to Neil and the whole biker rally. It's not a protest, my ass. They know it's a protest. That's why they're not letting you down there. So mince the words all you want, but it doesn't make a damn difference if you just go down there, play footsie and politics, and you're too damn scared to do anything about it. Call it what it is, and if you get banned, you get banned. You got banned anyway. Now you got to go down there on foot, if they even let you down there. And they're going to arrest your damn ass because they've got this legislation in place because nobody stood up in large enough numbers to do any damn thing about it. Now, you want a Rick rant? You got a Rick rant, but this one's directed at all of you who are pretending to fight for freedom. Stop pretending and start doing something about it. Jeez, for crying out loud. What the hell is it with you guys? You're all scared. Scared. You're damn right, Neil's scared. I understand it. But if you're too damn scared to lead properly, then make way for somebody who can. Because you're pissing me off. I'm a pissed off old guy. And I've had enough. Enough of the BS. Bring the country back. Playing around, asking people to go up there, burn their gas, take their time, get behind you. You don't deserve their support. It's not really it's not a protest. It's just a rally. Screw you, Neil. I'm not going to support somebody who can't support himself and can't support the people who are putting it on the line for him. You're not a leader. It's not a protest. Maybe you're working on the other side. And even if you're not, you might as well be, because you don't have the spine for this or the stomach. Because things are going to get a whole lot worse, pal, before they get better. Because this country is gone. I'm telling you. And in the next few months, censorship, internet censorship, censorship against journalists like us, arrests. You think we're playing a game here every night? We're putting it on the line, pal, because we're not pulling punches. But you sure as hell are. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But that's the truth. So you think twice, too, before you guys go up there next weekend and get behind Neil, because when you get your asses arrested, I know where Neil's going to be. He ain't going to be anywhere near you guys. He's going to be running the other way because he's scared. It ain't a protest. It should be. Get your asses back to Ottawa, but do it in a respectful, lawful, whatever way. Do whatever the hell you have to do. And if you can't do this and you can't do that, I'm not saying go down there and get arrested. But if you follow Neil, you probably will get your ass arrested and you'll get your bikes confiscated because Neil ain't thinking this through. He thinks that he can negotiate or work with the cops. They're not going to work with you, pal, because they know what the movement is really all about. It's about freedom, and they don't want it. I think I've said enough for one night. I probably just made an enemy out of Neil. I didn't mean to do that. But God damn it, Neil, this ain't the way, pal. I know what you're trying to do, and I respect what you've been trying to do, but this ain't going to work. That's the truth. And that's the other thing people on our side need to realize too. You know, there are some hard truths that people need to realize, and this is one of them. You think you're just going to play footsie over here and you're going to get what you want, and maybe you'll just convince the politicians to do what you want them to do by walking around with your Bristol board signs. It ain't going to be that easy. They don't give a damn. They don't give a shit if you walk around with your Bristol board sign. That's what they want you to do. And then they just want you to go home so they can ignore you again. It's going to take more than that, folks. And it's going to take some creativity. Don't go up there and get your ass arrested. Don't get your motorcycle confiscated. Be careful what you do. That's my advice to everyone out there. Think through what you're about to do and be careful who the hell you follow. Because if you're going to get behind somebody, they better be prepared to go all the way. Now, Neil obviously is the organizer. I was saying that he wasn't, because he was even too afraid to say that he wasn't, because I read some of his posts on that other website where he was saying, I'm really not the organizer either. I'm really just kind of like, I'm just a calming voice, and I can't do anything if all the bikers come up here. What am I going to do? Which is telling me again that the guy has no spine. He's not going to stand behind you. That's what he wrote back to the cops. Nothing I can do if they all come up here. It's not my responsibility. Yeah, it is. Your name's all over the damn thing. You're the guy. And you don't even have the balls to come on here to talk to me. Probably best right now if you don't. Invitation for tonight taken away. Don't bother to try to log in. I won't let you in the studio now because I'm just too hot. Maybe another night. That's the truth, folks. That's the truth. So you can all feel good about what was going to go on next weekend, except now you're going to feel bad because you're all banned. Now you have to walk in. I wouldn't show up for the damn thing. And I'm going to maybe some people are going to be pissed off at me for saying it. I'd like for it to go down, and I'd like for people to go up there and be respectful and show the respects for Canadian veterans, and that's what we should be doing. Yep. But don't go up there and get your ass in trouble for Neil, because he won't be there to help you when you do. Wow.
You okay, man?
I don't know. I'm tired of these people. You know what? Maybe Neil's going to run for office or something, right? Maybe he's got political aspirations. Maybe he's going to use it as a jump.
Well, I wouldn't go
What
that
I don't know. Like, what's the motivation then, man? What's the motivation really? Quit being a pansy ass.
I don't think it's worth speculating about, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think it is, because Neil's going to get some people in some damn trouble up there, and he's not going to be anywhere around because he's a coward. Sorry. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And I don't want people getting hurt anymore, because I've seen too many people follow people who lead them right into disaster. I've seen too many people charged, too many people pay fines, following bad advice. And now we've got Bill 100, and that's not a joke. And most people don't even know what's in it. So they don't even know what's coming when they go up there. This is just the start. I'm just warning everybody, be careful. Those cops aren't going to let anybody near that damn thing on a motorcycle, in a car, or any other damn thing. They're going to have roadblocks set up. It's going to be like freaking Nazi Germany, man. This is not a game. This is a war. It's an information war, and it's a war for our freedom. And it has to be won peacefully. It has to be won politically, but you're not going to win it by mincing words and playing by their rules all the damn time. You're going to have to get more creative than having a conversation with the cops where they just ban your ass anyway. Anyway, let's go to Lisa. I will calm down and let Lisa talk. What would you like to talk about tonight, Lisa?
Ban your ass anyway.
Are you there, Lisa?
Anyway, let's go to Lisa. I will calm down and let Lisa talk. What would you like to talk about tonight, Lisa? Ban your ass anyway.
A lot of feedback, echo. This isn't going to work, Lisa, unless you're going to have to turn your volume down on your computer or phone.
Yeah, it's all feedback.
Okay, let's pull Lisa out of here, because this is not going to work. And we'll move on to our next caller. Who do we have on the line now? There's no name associated with the call.
Yes, it's Ron English.
How are you tonight, Ron? Thanks for joining the program. I'm a little calmer now, so I'll let you say your piece.
Okay, I don't have a lot to say. I'm just another pissed off old guy out here on Vancouver Island.
Well, you're in the right place then.
That's. We have a lot of feedback again. Are you still there, sir?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, what's on your mind tonight? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'd like to talk about the biker rally that was supposed to be going to reclaim the memorial in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts are I'm just another pissed off old guy sitting out here on Vancouver Island, and I own a Harley Cruiser, and I was planning to get on that bike and go through snow or whatever the hell it took to get there to join with the vets. I'm not a vet. I've never fought in a war. But I really totally respect what they have done for this country. And what the government and the city of Ottawa are doing to them is just incredibly wrong.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
No. I guess that's my only piece is that I can't do a whole lot for freedom movement, but my whole thoughts are as if I roll into Ottawa on a bike and they decide they're going to throw me in jail and take my bike, I'm saying, okay, now I have my freedom. I've spoken my piece, and I'm at peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
And let the chips fall where they may. This draconian things that are going on are absolutely atrocious, and so much un-Canadian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, World's Worst Gamer says, even though I told people they should think twice about going, World's Worst Gamer says go anyway, do it for yourself. And yeah, if you want to go, go ahead. I just want people to know what they're riding into, right? Like there's danger up there and people need to be aware. And if these cops and the municipality are going to take this stance, then you could be riding into trouble. And with this bill, with this legislation in Ontario, dude, I'm telling you, like they're not messing around. So,
well, I guess, you know what I have to say, like I've never been a violent person or anything like that, but when the Gestapo comes for me, they better bring guns.
Yeah, well, we're all about keeping things peaceful around here, but I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just so much, like they just push people over the edge entirely. And the old movie where everybody's leaning out the window saying, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore."
Yeah, I'm familiar with that movie. I believe, what's it called? The Network?
Yeah, Network.
Yeah, the Network. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, that's all I had to say, Rick, and I really appreciate you giving me a moment on the air just to kind of help me decompress a little bit. I appreciate it.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you calling in. I'm sure Brendan does too. And thank you for putting up with my rant.
Well, not a problem. I watch you guys every day since the beginning of the trucker convoy, and I'm a loyal watcher, and I just had to speak out today. So thank you very much for that opportunity.
No,
thank you so much.
Our privilege. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks.
You have a great night.
Yeah, you too now. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. So that was a good call.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we have in comments here? Son of his Rick, maybe we all need to take a Sabbath day off to focus on something else positive. I don't know. I will tell you this, coming on here every night and dealing with all this stuff, it starts to play with your head because there is so much negativity, so much terrible crap going on in the world right now. It's hard to wrap your head around it, right? And a lot of it is honestly pretty depressing. It's been like that for over 2 years now. Bad enough before. Now, wow. It's, yeah. But Rhea Timmerman says the fight has only begun. Now, that's what I like to hear. Right? We got to get the country back, man. We got to get the country back. But we're not going to do it with these, half measures and playing nice. And that's what I've said before. And this is kind of where it comes back to, Brendan, too. It's like, we can't give them an inch anymore because there's no more ground to give. So every time somebody, caves in or they try to be nice or, they take the knee just to keep the peace, right? No.
The municipalities and police forces are not interested in any of these rallies. We've shown you that here firsthand. Especially with comments out of the Calgary police chief's mouth that were just absolutely despicable.
Yeah.
Calling Freedom individuals the anti-democratic crowd. It just rubs you really the wrong way. These people aren't on your team. That's just it.
They're not there for you. They're not on your side. They're not fighting alongside you. They're not supporting you in any way. They're not your friends. And every time you change your language, every time you say something that isn't quite the way you want to say it, they win.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's bothering me about this whole damn thing. It's not really it's not a protest. It's not. It's really not. So you should let us go down there, right? Because it's not like a protest. It's like it's a, what would we call it? Again, it's a rally. That's what it is. It's a rally. And it's not about freedom. It's not about freedom at all. No. It's about supporting the vets. So you should let us go, right? Yeah, you're going to let us go. And then they string you along. They strung these guys along for weeks, months, really. Well, they tried to get this thing organized. And now at the last minute, what do? They pull the plug. They say, oh, no, you can't bring your bikes down there. No, we're not going to let you. Even though they had routes planned out and every other damn thing, they never had any intention of letting them go down there. They're playing a stupid game. They gave them an inch, they took another mile. You can't do that with these guys. Yeah, I understand. You talk to these cops, right? That's what I would do too. You work with them, absolutely. But don't screw around with your language. Don't call it something it isn't to try and do an end run around them. They know what you're doing. They know you're playing a game. And they're not going to play your stupid game. Because they hold all the cards. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. Then you find something else to do. You do something in another way. If you can't do what you're really going to do, which they're clearly not going to let you do anyway, no matter what you decide to call it, but they really kind of won, didn't they? Because now they made you kind of change your language and soften everything up and kind of bend the knee just a little bit. And then in the end, they kind of like said, nope, you can't do it. Can't bring your bikes down there. Not going to let you. Don't care. Where to get you? Where did it get you? All right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or come on here and set me straight. And that's fine too. And if I have to take lumps because of what I said tonight, I'm fine with that too. If I've said something out of line or if I'm wrong, set me straight. I'm cool with that. And I'm not averse to apologizing if there's an apology in line here. But let's see how things play out now.
Well, it is currently 9:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Can we take one or two more calls here quickly, Brendan? Because a couple of people have been waiting.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's see here. Who do we have on the line with us now? Looks like you're calling from the Detroit area, 313 area code.
Yes.
And what's on your mind tonight, and who are you?
Yes, hello. So I'm a caller from the last time I called.
I remember.
So I heard your ranting, Rick.
Yep,
it's Reese. Glad you remember my voice, man. So dude, as soon as I heard your rant again, oh my God, you just shocked me.
Yeah.
Everything you talked about this guy named Neil is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Neil is a spineless motherfucker who literally does not know nothing of, like, he's just crazy. Neil tried to frame it as something that it actually was, right? He said, "Go ahead, it's not a something as you said."
Yeah, it's not a protest. Not a protest. It's just it's a rally. Yeah.
Exactly. He played them all for fools. And then here's something I also heard you say. He said that he tried to negotiate with the cops. When here's the problem. You can't negotiate with cops who are goons. They are goons of the regime who just trample on people, who push them back, beat people up and all that shit. You're trying to negotiate with cops who are gonna threaten you, threaten people's families, and silence them and arrest you for literally going against the Trudeau dictatorship. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. What is going on in Canada right now, Rick? I hate it. And I know that you do too, sir. Everything you do, I respect you for. Your rant was warranted and it was beautiful. Your passion is like mine.
Well,
and I absolutely love it.
Thank you. I appreciate the confidence that you have.
You are a great person and you need to continue your work. What you are researching is 100% true. Not fake news, not no fringe far right bullshit. It's true. You're an independent journalist who is so passionate about what you're doing. You are sitting on your ass every night, and that is passion right there. You care about your country.
I do.
Even though I'm an average American citizen, just like you are in Canada, and you care. You think of how is it going to go down later on, and that is right on the money. How I feel, I hate what's going on right now in the States. These far lefties are trying to indoctrinate kids. They're trying to do everything they're doing. They are so crazy. They think they can win through fear mongering and trying to talk nonsense. They are like robots who can't even answer a simple question. So if you ask them a question that is illogical, they just say nonsense. That's so like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
Everything going on in Canada is a authoritarian regime that must be stopped. Why would Neil negotiate with the cops? Can you answer me that?
Well, I think you do need to talk to the cops, but there's really only one honest way to deal with this. When you're trying to set something like this up, you need to go in and deal with it honestly. The cops knew that this thing was about freedom because everybody was talking about it in that context from the very beginning. But Neil went down there, from what I'm reading and what he has posted online about everything that's happened tonight. And he has been talking to the cops, and he's been trying to kind of finesse it by changing his language and changing the way he describes it. You see?
See, Mr. Rick, what he was doing is changing his language, as you just said. He's trying to change his language and change his tune. He is kowtowing and bowing to the authoritarian regime, thinking he could play the superiority in this society that is now effed up all the way to HE double hockey sticks.
Yep.
It is insane that he thinks that he can just kowtow and betray people like that when he tried to and failed to inspire a protest, when in actuality, it's not a protest, you stupid cunt. It's actually a freaking farce because you lied to these people and now you might get them arrested and their stuff confiscated. He should have remembered that when Trudeau implemented that Emergency Powers Act, he wrongfully and unconstitutionally, if your country even has a constitution anymore, because it's now China, as a matter of fact, sir, and he has trampled on people's rights.
See, and
now he has this legislation in, like, it's crazy. What is this entire new law about? Please explain.
It's about clamping down on political dissent. That's what it is. That's what Bill 100 really is.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Just what I feared would happen. Just what I feared would happen to you. And now it's happening. They are going to trample down even more on your right to free speech, to freedom of the press, and it's going to get even worse. It's going to get worse, and these far left liberals don't understand they're on the wrong side, but they don't care. They would rather feel superior to you and tell you how to live your life while they think they can just go into the high class. Well, they're not high class. They are middle class and they're low class of a society that don't give a damn or a freak or a BS. Because what's going on, it is manufactured BS. Trudeau caused this problem. Freaking Joe, whoever his name is in office in the States, made this problem down here, and they don't want to fix it because they don't care. As you said, they don't give a shit.
See,
and that pisses me off that these people who are preaching about freedom always lie. They're not for freedom. They are just lying to you. Those who are for freedom, as you said, Mr. Rick, you are right. If you want to fight for freedom, as you just said, Mr. Rick, all of us need to get out there. But if you're afraid, then grow some balls and actually do something.
See,
even if you're an average American like me, or an average Canadian like Mr. Rick here, to the viewers, you need to grow a pair and do something about it. Don't just talk about it. Don't make empty threats. Do something.
That's right. And
don't give them an inch and don't give them a single circle left of a hole to even use.
That's right.
No inch, no mile. Take every advantage as if it's a war. That is what this is.
It absolutely is. And see, the problem here with the approach that the bikers took when talking to the cops and the municipality is that now the cops don't trust him. Because why? Because he went up there and he said, well, it's not really a protest. It's just going to be a rally. When in reality, the cops know that the people coming up there are really, freedom fighters. And so they don't trust him anyway. So now you're already starting from a position of distrust because you've bent the knee. So it just doesn't work. The only way for you to really deal with this at this point in time with the current political situation is to go in, be completely honest with the cops, tell them exactly what you're going to do. And if they say no, they say no. And then you protest in some other way, perhaps. But you have to be upfront. You need to be straight with them, because you can't even begin to organize something like that unless you begin from a place of truth and honesty. If you go in and you're not really telling the cops what you're really going to be doing, but they really know what you're really going to be doing, and it's all deception. And even though you're probably not,
it always is deception,
that's
and
right.
that is true. Everybody always lies through their teeth. Have you heard that phrase before?
Yeah.
People lie through their teeth because they have evil intent behind their so-called kind actions and their so-called kind words. Dude, it's like an abuser, right? They literally hurt you for so long, then as soon as you are crying and whining like a little girl, completely begging for mercy, that they then lie, then try to give you kindness, though however you know as the victim that, hey, you can't trust this guy. So as a matter of fact, you say F you and fuck off. So after that, you leave, then you call them out on their lies.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
I appreciate the call. We do have to move on because it's getting late, and we do have Tyler from California, but please call back anytime. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and I appreciate your comments tonight and the confidence that you've shown in, in what we're doing here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rick. Yo, and stay safe, man. Your work is great. And hey, Mr. Brandon, keep up the good work with this man. He's not old. He has passion, and I heard it tonight. You are amazing. The two of you are great people. Keep it up. I want to hear that passion from your voice even more. Scream at the top of your lungs if you need to, because what people are doing, they don't understand that they have to really fight. Really fight like you mean it.
Thank you. Thank you. We're moving on.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Have a great night.
Yep.
And we are.
Have a great night.
And we're going to talk to Tyler from California. What's on your mind tonight, Tyler?
Hey, Rick. Hey, Brand. So
Hello.
I'm not gonna talk that long, so don't worry. And yeah. So
Sure.
when I heard about the cops and Trudeau and everything what was going on in Canada, I think the cops are gonna ask themselves, like, who are we gonna serve? The people or the dictator? They're at, can you explain to me, like, about the cops in Canada?
I'm sorry. How do you mean?
Sorry for the confusion. I'll try to explain, like, the cops are gonna ask themselves, like, is this what we're protecting our civilians from dictatorship, or we're serving a dictator for freedom?
You mean the cops have to pick, it's time for the cops to pick the right side, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They have picked their side. They have picked their side.
No shit.
Yeah, all the ones that have disagreed with this are probably already been fired and placed on some sort of administrative action or something or other. But yeah, I believe that they've picked their side. There's been plenty of policemen in the history of the world that have shown us that they're more than happy to work for dictatorships. We've seen that before.
Yeah, and also the cops, they're gonna regret for what's going on, and not just them, even Trudeau and the WF, they're all gonna get their karma anyway. Even their plan succeeds, it's gonna bite them in the ass, even if we're gone.
Yeah.
Well,
Tyler, we're going to move on because it is getting late in the broadcast, and we do have a caller waiting. So thank you so much for calling in, though, and please call back again.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Take care.
Take care. You have a great night.
You too.
And we're going to move on here. Who do we have? Is it Dr. Mary Abby Lanz? Is that right? From Germany?
Yeah. Really. It's great to take part in your show. So I'm a medical doctor. I live in Germany and in Switzerland. I am following your broadcast since the trucker problem, and I fully agree with all your statements, just generally.
Okay.
So what I want, what I want to signal you is, we in Germany, I have a German passport, though living in Switzerland. We need your explanations about the cruel Mr. Schwab Great Reset ideology. People over here, they don't believe it, they don't get it, and it is since in the Canadian Parliament there was this 5-minute or 4-minute explanation that Mr. Trudeau takes part in the WEF and WEF and the Great Reset agenda. So from this point on, we in Germany and other European countries saw that something is going on there. But European guys, they don't know what is really going on. They don't believe.
Mm. Well, I
So,
mean,
full stop.
the WEF has its own website, and they leave all of this out in the open. And you have connections with Switzerland. Well, that's where they hold these meetings every year.
I know, but there is I hope so. There is a big difference between the Swiss people and the WEF mafia organization.
So,
you know?
so what is it that you're hoping we can do, or what's the thrust of what you need us to explain it to people?
Explaining the European people what's really going on with the WEF and all this Great Reset bullshit. I'm unvaccinated, of course, as medical doctor. I don't want to die. but they all they all think vaccination, masks, and all this bullshit it's a healthy thing for people to do. It's about 80%, I think, who are vaccinated about here, and they start to die. There is this website. How bad is my lot and so on. Probably you know this, but then it is needed that there is more explanations for people here from another side of the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
From your side.
Sure.
It
well, I can tell you that people here also have trouble believing it. So I can certainly relate to what you're saying. And we have highlighted some of this on the show. I guess we need to do a better job of making people aware.
Maybe you translate your contributions into German language. Maybe this is a possibility. I'm not so very connected to Canada, really. I have never been to America, thanks God. In Canada, this might be interesting for me.
So
but I can't fly. I can't fly. I'm as unvaccinated. I can't go there. But please help the European guys to understand what is really going on with the WEF and the this Mr. Schwab and so on. They don't believe it.
Can I ask you, what kind of doctor are you?
Medical doctor.
Okay, like a family practitioner, or do you have a specialty?
It's really worse. I worked since 40 years for pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
I'm specialist for implants.
Nice. Oh, okay.
But so it's sober part of this bullshit. I'm 69 years now, and I hope to quit. When I started to work as medical doctor for the pharmaceutical industry, I thought it would be a good job to help people with acting against cancerous diseases and so on. Yeah, since 10 years, I know what's really going on.
Can I ask you this? The restrictions that you're facing there for unvaccinated people, it sounds like they're similar to the restrictions we're facing in Canada. What can't you do? Like, you're in Canada, you can't get on an airplane, you can't get on a train, you can't get on a bus. There are, other restrictions as well. Many people here have lost their jobs, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any compensation or help for anyone to get their jobs back for those who have lost them. What's the situation like in Germany?
So I own a house in Germany and I live in Switzerland. So I was not allowed to travel to my German house. Since 4 weeks, I'm allowed to go with a train. So before I was not allowed. I didn't want to travel 1,000 kilometers by car, and you can't cross the border without vaccination pass. Since 4 weeks, it is possible, and therefore I was able to travel. So I am not allowed to take an airplane. And as I live in Switzerland, I would like to go to Italy and Spain. I really can't find out if I'm allowed to go there. It's so complicated, and I just don't go there. So the situation is not so very clear, but yeah, I try to manage my life. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't work for a company, so I own my own GmbH, so I don't have to. I don't have. I'm not dependent on other people, but I know it's complicated for others. Those who work for other pharmaceutical companies or any companies, they have to show their vaccination pass.
Are people still wearing masks over there? Are there still mask mandates in place?
In Switzerland, not. It's about 1% who wear masks. In Germany, it's about 30 or 40% who wear masks. And I traveled yesterday by train, and I had to wear the mask all the time. Though, yeah, I have my tricks. So it's to travel for 10 hours in a train with mask, with this shitty FFP2 mask, you can't breathe,
Uh-huh.
So it's terrible. It's terrible. But in Switzerland, I live at the height of 1,650 meters. We still have snow there. And here in Germany, I live in the countryside, so I don't feel all this bullshit. I'm a runaway. So I just wanted to tell you that we need your help to explain what is really going on. A lot of people are left Germany, good physicians. I don't want to say the names right now. They went to Tanzania or other countries, people who explained what is really going on, but physicians who explain what is going on are followed by police and have to leave the country. This is a very bad situation, you know.
Worldwide, we've got a serious problem worldwide, no question about it. No question
So
about it.
there are some names. Please write it down. Maybe you can do some research. It's Bodo Schiffmann, Schiffman. It's I didn't prepare this talk very. Maybe you can send me an email. Then I will tell you other names. So there are important physicians and important people. They are followed by police, and they left Germany. You know, you can't talk here about all that stuff.
I understand.
You can't talk. It's very dangerous.
We know.
Yeah.
we know. We know it's dangerous. It's dangerous here too.
And it was a wake-up call for the world when this trucker stuff, when this trucker protest started, so that we all see that it is not a local problem for Germany or for U.S.A. you can forget it, or for Canada, but it is a worldwide movement, and we need information from all over the world, and as well for Canada. I mean, as a German, Canada is it's far away. So I know Eva Hermann and Dr. Pop. Maybe you can write this down.
Well, you know what I'm doing right now? I'm putting our email address up on the screen, so you can refer back to this at maverickmultimedia@mail.com. You send me or Brendan an email at that email address with the information that you have, and I will certainly do whatever I can with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my intention with this call is that please wake up the world, and don't only talk about Canada and this and that, but wake up all the others, because in Germany people don't know the truth, and they don't believe the truth, you see?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Totally get it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling in tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Great to speak to someone from Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Doc.
Okay.
Please call back, because we'd love to talk to you more. I'm sure that you have a lot of other insight and perspective that we'd like to share with you in the future.
I hope my English wasn't too bad.
It was outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for calling. Ciao.
All right. Take care. And that was great to get a call all the way from Germany tonight from that doctor, Dr. Mary. I won't get into the full name again, but because, I don't even know if she really wanted her full name out there. But yeah, if you have information, Doctor, you can send it to maverickmultimedia@mail.com. Anybody can reach us there at maverickmultimedia@mail.com. And you can also support our work by donating at freedomreporters.com. Maybe you liked my rant tonight, and maybe you want to support us so that you get more of those Rick rants, or maybe I pissed you off and you never want to watch the show again. I think there are at least one or two people that fall into that category tonight based on the comments that I saw coming in. And that's fine too, because we're not always going to agree on everything. But you can count on me to call them like I see them. So at least I'll be consistent and honest with you always. I'll throw it over to Brendan to tell you how else you might be able to support us if you can't donate at freedomreporters.com. Brendan, how can they do that?
Be sure to smash that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and share us with your friends and hit the bell to make sure that you don't miss any of our content.
And with that being said, we will be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Maverick News Channel. You want to say goodbye tonight, Brendan?
Yeah, I'm Brendan Kennedy, your co-host at the Maverick News Channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. We are the Freedom Reporters. We are the antivirus program for your mind. Catch you all tomorrow night on the